I'm not gonna stop for everything. Hello, everybody.
Sorry for everyone who's already watching. For all three of you who are already watching, we're trying to go live on a few different platforms
at once. Yeah.
So now we're on my Instagram. As you can see, we have the split screen. Chris's Instagram, YouTube, which is youtube.com/Swedish with 2 E's. And then on Facebook for Chris. And so we're going to be talking today. We're going to be talking, well, we're in between days right now.
Facebook, can anybody get me on Facebook? Comment if you can. I don't know if I'm going to so, like you can.
We are... babe. We're trying to... we're going to be talking... YouTube, which is... Sorry. This is so... As you can see.
Okay, cool. Thank you, D2 Production Services. I appreciate it.
Share, though.
Good morning to you, too. It's 6:06 a.m. in the morning on the East Coast. It's 3:06 a.m. in Los Angeles, where we're located. And I feel like I'm in a mirror vortex of time delay. There's like 7 versions of me. So it's great. I don't have one to focus on.
Sorry, I'm trying to be in your Facebook. This is so strange to have
really is.
This many devices on
sit
at the same
forward.
time.
Sit forward, because you're out of your camera and you're in your camera, you're in your camera, you're in mine. There we go. Okay, we're now in.
So here we are.
Our production setup is different. Facebook,
remember, we have the baby in the other room, so we have to, even though we're trying to be those parents that don't like tiptoe around the baby all the time.
We definitely
But right now, if there's sudden noises, she will
wake up.
She will wake up. So you can have a full blast of music going on and she sleeps through it. But if you
open the door, like, she's like, huh? Like, no.
Anyway. So if you're listening right now, we are planning to talk about a few things.
Something, I won't say serious, but a little serious. So we've been silly up to this point, and we're going to get a halfway serious only because this is a very special time of year, even though it's really crazy in this world. And so for my Facebook people, y'all might be familiar with... What's going on, Mason? How you doing? Y'all might be familiar with the subject matter because I've been talking about it a little bit on my Facebook, but my Instagram family, and our YouTube friends, I have not spoken about this before on YouTube, but I feel
especially on my page,
our beliefs and the way the world works and what we feel is going on in this season of craziness relating to the coronavirus. So we're going to talk about a few things tonight and condense a lot into a little bit because we have had a lot of things on... Oh, there we go. There goes that. On our hearts to share and to...
Just the headphones, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Should I turn those off?
Oh, there's an echo. No, it's coming out the phone. Sorry. It's distracting me because I can hear an echo, but it's all the way down. Don't hit the lock button.
Okay, sorry.
There you go. It's been on our heart to share a few things with our friends and our family. And so that's what these videos are. We're going to start doing a series of videos where we just talk from the heart. This is not meant to be formal. This is meant to be kind of loose and lighthearted, but then at the same time, important when it comes to the things that we speak about that are maybe a little important in this season, or just that matter to people with the stuff that everybody's going through at the moment. So with that said, we titled this, Why We Celebrate...
No, why we pass over...
Sorry, you're right. Why we pass over Easter. Why
remix.
We pass over Easter, the remix. Now, not that shameless plug. We borrowed homage. Which one? Homage. We'll go with that. That title from a friend of ours, some friends of ours, who had a talk like this yesterday or the day before, that they called Why We Pass Over Shabbat. I was like, Why We Pass Over Easter. And I said, I like that. That's pretty clever. So we're calling this Why We Pass Over Easter, the remix, as a nod to our friends, Kristen and Aaron Robbins. You guys are really
Mm-hmm.
awesome. And there's some friends that we found who live in North Carolina who follow us on our journey. Oh, they don't follow us on our journey. We're both on separate journeys, and we both follow a similar journey. And we only got introduced to one another about a year ago, and it's been really awesome getting to know them. So this is our first season of Passover and unleavened bread and the rest of the feasts that we know them for. So we're kind of joining with them and sharing a few insights and things that we've come to learn. However, this also matters when it comes to our world and why we think that this week in particular represents a very significant time in the world. And in light of the whole coronavirus situation and what's going on with just everybody's work and everybody's life, we just wanted to share for a little bit. Now, I don't know how long we'll talk, but we're going to not try to be too long-winded, right? You got to give me the long-winded
Right,
elbow of truth and reality.
I mean, like pinching you on the side.
Like, why are you pinching me? I'm just on my third tangent. Okay. So, with that said, Jen, do you want to pray for us? We're going to pray, and then we're going to just talk and hang out with us, ask us questions. We'll do our best to try to look. A while back, you recorded, and I was actually came up to me at nowhere and just used to go, oh, you're kind of poo because Hulk scared. Oh, yeah. Gandor, I do remember you. You worked at the, not the Grove, the Americana. I was filming some Hulk campaign or something like, I don't remember what it was, but I do remember you. And you were nice. Thank you for pooping on camera for us. Not really, but fake poop. So that the Hulk is scared. Hello, everybody watching. Mason Parker, hello, how are you? What are we doing Mason. Up? Great question. We don't seem to ever go to bed until the little lady go to bed.
This is early.
Just an hour and a half. Not even an hour.
3 a.m. is early for us.
3:12 a.m. The night is still young, and so
thank you, Ganador.
Okay, so Jen, go ahead and pray, and thank you very much. Thanks. I think your name is Chris. Your name is Chris too, right? I think.
All right.
Pray, and then we'll get started talking. So we won't make this.
Just want to say thank you, Father, so much for having this platform where we can talk and share and exchange notes with our brothers and sisters around the world. We just pray that you let us speak or that your words will flow through us, that the ears that need to hear this and the eyes that need to see this will be able to see and hear this. And we just pray that you put a protection over us so no spoken or written curses can penetrate. And just have a pleasant time while we talk. And pray these things in Yeshua's name. Amen.
All right. So I told myself that I wasn't going to talk that loud, and that at least on Facebook, there's great audio compression, so I'm really yelling for no reason. And I wrote some notes down. So
Okay, good. So stay on course. We're going to look at the notes that we have just to be
super duper baller.
Yeah, just to be baller. Okay, so Passover. Why do we do Passover? This is something that, for the most part, I think almost everybody in the entire world have heard the word Passover. And why do we do it, Chris?
That was
on the ball to you.
Why do we do a Passover? So we know what the word why means. It's a question. Do. Implication of will. Chris, I'm just I give her a hard time.
It's like a hot potato.
All right, sure, yeah. Why do we do it? So when you hear the word Passover, when most people hear the word Passover, they associate that with a Jewish feast, like a Jewish ritual or ceremony for people of the Jewish culture or faith. And they wouldn't be wrong for that. However, that was not the origin of Passover. The origin of Passover began with a promise that was being made between God and a group of people, like a single family, because of their dedication to God, specifically because of that. That's how it began. And that was carried out through one person whose name was Abram for a while. And then he got his name changed because of some actions that he did that pleased and that really were a step toward harmony for mankind, after the beginning, failed. We all know that story. So that promise was God saying, listen, I want to come and I want to meet with you. I want to talk with you. I want to show you how to live a life that will be helpful and loving and fair. Everybody is going to have their own perception of what that is, what's fair, what's helpful, what's loving. But I I know y'all all mean well, but I really have this better plan that it's really not better. It's just older, and it's Kodesh and holy in that it's heaven born, if you will. And this plan is the best one. And it's not hard to do, but you got to kind of stick to these guidelines. And I'll be happy to show you how to do that. And so in order to do that, we're going to set some meeting appointment times. It's called the Moedim, Moedim. That means his meeting times or his appointment times. And so when we got to a point, I grew up, little tab in backstory not hip hop, hop backwards. I don't know why I said hip hop. Ignore that.
Hibbity hop.
Hibbity hop. I grew up Christian. Jen grew up question mark.
Gnostic.
Jen grew up question. I
don't know what I was. I did not grow up in a religious setting.
Perfect. Blank. Other.
Yeah.
That section.
More of a spirit. I believed in spiritual things, but yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. And we both got to a place kind of near when we first started dating about really investigating what truth was about. Like, who is this Jesus that we hear so much about? We've got the Easter season coming up. We've got the Passover season coming up. Like, what's going on here? Why am I hearing all of this new information that seems weird and different and unrelated or related to a specific group of people that's not me? And I don't understand what the significance of that is. Why do what's going on with all this? I don't really know how to make any sense of it. That's what we're here to help explain. What is happening in this season of what's going on? Hey, Michael Cardoza, by the way. Let me get back to my point. We grew up in religions and belief systems that do not acknowledge Passover basically whatsoever. And plenty of wonderful people grow up just like we grew up. So this is no knock on any individual or any group of people or any belief system, religion, culture, anything like that. This is an aim at establishing and identifying what truth is and what it looks like and how it's probably kind and it probably really loves us and it probably does know what it's talking about, because for all we know, we just showed up one day. We were babies. We just showed up one day. So we have to believe that if we have love for our children, for our pets, for our country, for our family, then that for nature, any of that stuff, then that goodness comes from something good that was before we just showed up, or else I don't understand how we didn't invent the idea of being good to a thing. So with that said, it became our quest to find what's the truest form of this expression. And that led us into a lot of research, a ton of stuff that was very much considered like conspiracy and considered fringe and considered,
kind of out of the box
thinking that talks about. For the most part, people don't see how any of that stuff matters or how it connects or why people focus on it. Mm-hmm. But it was what we found fascinating.
And I think we both of us were very kind of outside of the box from the get-go. So, didn't like to follow the mainstream doing what everyone else is doing.
Right. We were both fairly...
That was... Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, baby. I didn't mean that.
No, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I've always been like a kind of a left shoe, right foot type of dude. I don't know. Everybody who knows me from back home can speak to that stuff. But we got to a place where we were really searching for the truth. You know, a lot of people, and we'll get to more of this later in this particular live stream, but a lot of people know and can feel that something is going on in this world that is deceitful, or we're being not told something, we're missing a piece of the puzzle, something's not adding up. The way this pandemic is playing out doesn't make sense. There's a lot of questions that I have that no one seems to be asking, or there's a lot of questions that are unanswered, and that's your gut telling you, yo, something is up.
Right.
Now, maybe you don't know what that is, but some people do.
It's like seeing a cockroach on the wall and be like, where's the nest to this thing?
Right. It's like,
it's coming from somewhere, because they don't never come by themselves.
Yeah, you don't never see just one cockroach be like, yeah, I'm gonna go to LA, strike it on my own, be an actor. No, they come with a whole posse of them jokers. And I've heard, I don't know if this is true, the cockroaches can
multiply themselves,
fertilize themselves. That's just
Ew. Anyway.
Next, back to the real subject at hand. Hello, everybody that's joining. We
hello
got to a place where we said, like a good crossword puzzle, look at the end look at the beginning and end. And the end is put me at the beginning of the book of Revelation, which a lot of people find that book confusing or daunting, or I don't know, like a lot of people think different things about that book. But I had to learn, and Jennifer also had to learn, that we are all smart enough. We are all capable of understanding, of learning, of getting to a place of becoming an expert enough, not maybe an expert, but at least a well-versed, well-studied person of a particular subject matter that seemed foreign to us at one point. For me, it was piano. I used to look at a piano and be like, how can anybody ever play this thing? I mean, there's so many keys. And then I spent time doing it for years. And then it became like, oh, okay, you can just put your hands like this and it sounds good. Same thing with a sport. Same thing with an art form, like drawing or singing. As a singer, you practice, you do vocal warm-ups, and there's these techniques that make you better at knowing how to hit a thing when it's time to when it's time for the rubber to hit the road. This is becoming a call for people who want to protect their families, their homes, their livelihoods, their jobs, because this is a complete assault against all of that stuff. And part of why we're speaking about this now and on at 3:24 in the morning is because today marks Passover. This coming Sunday marks Easter. And this is a season where people can choose to turn, and like this whole Passover unleavened bread cycle of these feasts are this decorum where the Father invites you to say, listen, I understand you were misled. I hope you realize that by now. You're being actively misled about basically everything that's going on in this world, especially with this coronavirus. And spiritually speaking, the world has been subjected to that type of misleading as well, with every major religion. So this is a chance to come out of the Babylon that is represented in the religious systems. These systems are controlled, all of them, by...
Is to think about it as Egypt, as in
Egypt.
The story of Passover, where the Israelites are being held, prisoners basically, and being slaves, and just kind of dealing with it for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay.
Just wanted to put that in there since that's the topic.
So we've spent a lot of time on point number one. So we're going to try to keep to some kind of a script here. But the question that we're endeavoring to answer is why we decided to do it. Because these are feasts given by the Father. These are the Father's feasts. These are not Jewish feasts.
Mm-hmm.
These are the Father's feasts. The Jews just happen to be the one group of people who seem to find them important enough to do. So kudos to them. Yom Kippur's off, hat tip to them, but the call for the observation of these feasts was the Father saying, my people, this is how I commune with you. And we felt a new invigoration in, I guess, acknowledging that and observing that when we really reread this and we're like, oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was also going to put it in there that this was something that is done in heaven too. Before we came to be, this was the kingdom. And so everything that the Father wants us to do is a reflection of what already is in the heavenly realm,
including Sabbath, which is why he rested right after he made creation, because this is what he was already used to doing. That's what they already did. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. So the Father isn't just instructing us to do things because he feels like, oh, you should do this, like an evil leader would do. Like now we're stuck in our homes because someone's telling us to do, telling us to. But he's actually since we are an extension of God, of Yah, he wanted to, have a skeleton of, or I shouldn't use that word skeleton, but a
mannequin or model or
something. a model, a prototype of what it is to be the kingdom together and doing it how he's doing it.
Yes. And that is the why. It's a decorum of heaven. Earth is about getting in stride for the kingdom of heaven and what it's already doing before earth is even created. And these feasts are a large part of that. And this is like a ceremony of the cosmos that mirrors in when you get into studying the enemy and who who this Satan, devil, Lucifer really is. They have rituals around the same times too for specific reasons. And to know your enemy is to have a little bit of a heads up on what's really going on. So
when we started looking into all of these things, because we were already feeling or going in a direction of trying to know truth, we saw this 77-part series that Chris's dad sent to us to watch, and it's called Know Your Enemy.
It's called the Know Your Enemy series.
Yeah, so it's just kind of where it kicked off, and Chris got really deep into how the world works, and I was in the beginning of my walk trying to know who God is. So I was really nose deep in the Bible and reading that. So we were both studying different things, but then of course since we were together, we get to be around each other's research. So anyway, I don't know if that makes sense. Do you think that makes sense? It's freaking hot up in here.
Yeah, I know. Somebody got the heat on. I need to start a live show. You know, we both in here sweating.
It could be the computers also.
Sweating.
Like working.
Dripping down. Okay, so then. So what I'm trying to really do is like, I know what's going to happen. My mom's going to watch this. She's like, I liked it, but y'all need to stick to the point. And she's right. Here we go. It's already been 32 minutes. So in a nutshell, why we
24 minutes.
People who didn't grow up in Israel, why we keep Passover is because we feel that this is a feast that God did ask his people in his Torah, his instruction, his law, his, perfect guideline for how to commune and live in accordance with him and the kingdom of heaven, how it already has been doing. They do it. So he said, this is where I'll be. If you'd like to meet me, show up. And we go, cool. Creator of heaven and earth, I'll see you there. Passover. Boom. To why we do, or when we started doing it, is 4 years ago. We haven't been doing this our
5
entire
years.
lives. 5 years ago, yeah, you're right. 2015. We kind of just a lot changed in a little bit of time, and we restructured what our interests were in Los Angeles, and it rendered us to be a lot slower work wise and like industry wise, if you will. But
we started keeping Shabbat on Saturdays.
Started keeping Shabbat on Saturdays. Yeah, you know, it rendered us a lot slower industry wise, but we gained so much understanding in that season due to just the amount that we were studying and reading and praying and seeking the Father and really, you know, kind of, you know, Netflix and chilling. Otherwise, that was basically all we did for 2 years, 3 years.
We were just really hungry to know truth.
To know the truth, yeah.
It would be up late and reading and watching videos and really like seeing the puzzle pieces come together. And so,
hey, Mickey, what's good? There you get it. Okay, so I wrote down these questions and I'm just reading to keep myself on target. Why we do it, I've explained that. Because the Father asked us, and he didn't ask just the tribe of Judah extendants where the Jews come from. He wasn't like, all right, Israel, you got 12 kids. Which one are you? Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, Benjamin, Judah. Okay, just y'all. I need all of y'all to keep Passover. Nobody else. That's not how it went down. He said, these are my feasts. My people keep my feasts. And we went in other videos about why we can keep Sabbath.
And it's also witness that he, you know, gave this instruction to us that we actually do it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's a way we can do, you know, with the exception of like we can do with our actions, not just with our words and our intent. So we got to a place where it was about the same time we began to understand the origins of Easter and the origins of Passover. And we looked and we said, wow, one is completely pagan in origin, and one is definitely the Father asking us to do something. Okay, let's maybe do that. So I want to quickly, before I get into Easter, talk about why this year is really important. There are several different calendars. When you go and you pick up iCal or the calendar app on your phone or Google Calendar or whatever, it's going to say calendar. This is where you live. This the year we live in is 2020. If the world don't blow up, it'll be 2021. And you are on the Gregorian calendar. This was instituted by Pope Gregory, and my math and history buffs will know the answer. I want to say somewhere in the like
300?
800s. No, it wasn't the 300s. It was after that. 400. I forget when it was. Anyway, the Gregorian calendar. There is the Julian calendar. There is the Enochian calendar. There is the Zadokite calendar. There is the Hillel II calendar. These are all different Jewish calendars, Hebrew calendars, Roman calendars that Roman lands underneath their jurisdiction now observe and follow. And they base their cyclical nature on different things. Some are moon-based calendars. Some are sun-based calendars. Some are a combination of both. So you really, if you want to know anything, Mason, if you're still on here, I know we've talked before, and he says this all the time. This is a friend of mine I grew up with. He's like, people need to understand why they do anything. Why do we celebrate Resurrection Day? Why do we celebrate Passover? Why do we celebrate Halloween? What's the point of Halloween? It's fun, sure, but why?
Right. There's a reason why.
Why is Easter in America all about bunnies and eggs, but Easter in Sweden all about witches
and eggs?
Which one was first, America or Sweden? So is witches associated with this holiday? Like, we have to ask ourselves these questions, and then we have to be responsible enough with. And
why is the egg is such a significant thing?
Yeah. And we have to be responsible enough with the answers that we find to do something that we feel is pleasing in the sight of God, Yahweh. the God of the Hebrew people and the Jewish people. This is why we do Passover. Please do not take this as anti-Semitic in any regard. We have not a stitch of anti-Semitism anywhere near us. We find so many things about the Jewish culture quite endearing, and we, embrace and join in more now than we ever have. But this is about truth for us. This is not about culture vulturing or nothing like that. This is about figuring out where the source of truth runs and pushing toward that with our intellect, as much as we can at least put in and say, well, I've at least read this, Father, and I think this is the strongest way I know how to do what you're asking. So this year is significant because all these different calendars that I talk about, this Hillel, like if you go in your calendar app and you flip on the Jewish calendar, that's the Hillel 2 Jewish calendar. That's not the Zadokite Jewish calendar or the Enochian Jewish calendar. And they don't base themselves off of different criteria. They don't base the start of the count of the cycles, if you will, on the same criteria. So in our research, it has led us to follow a different calendar than the Hillel 2 calendar. We follow the Zadokite calendar. But this year is unique because this year, everybody's lining up at the same time. All the different calendar cycles put the Passover and the Easter dates right in they're like the same week. Now, this is important for a host of reasons, but number one, if you peek your head out your blinds from your quarantined house, you will find that the world is really weird and freaky right now. It is not the normal. There's nothing normal happening in Earth at the moment. And it is something that I believe is a spiritual problem. I believe, a lot of people ask me, Chris, I hear what you're saying about this stuff. Like, well, what can I do about this? What's the solution? And my answer is always like, bro, the Most High, that's the solution. I do not know what to tell you beyond getting prepared, knowing that this is coming, moving what you can move, figuring out what to do, and mentally getting yourself ready for seasons to change because they're already changing. I ask people this question all the time. How many people do you know who personally have the coronavirus? Count that number on one hand or one piece of paper, and then compare that with how many people you know struggling for work and to maintain their job and to maintain a payment structure that will support the life that they most likely barely could afford to keep paying before the coronavirus came along. The number is staggeringly larger than the number of coronavirus people that we know. Now, I'm not wanting to sit here and suggest that this is a fake disease. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying there's something going on here, and it's quite a serious thing that's happening. And we're in a season that is crucial because this is a time where people who are called, who answer the calling that I'm hopefully echoing as best I can, which is really Yeshua's calling, Jesus's calling, the Father's calling through his Messiah, his mouthpiece on earth, his
full extension
of his word in every
his being,
layer that technically means. This was his call, and his call was that you repent, which means to turn away
or turn back to the origin, or to the first love.
It means that to repent means to cease and return to your first love, like about face. About face is like do the other thing than the thing that you were doing. And that's like spiritually applicable across multiple categories and subject matters, but it's meant to be a spiritual thing, and that's the point of the ritual. If you know anything about QAnon and any of what's going on in the Q phenomenon and the arrests and all this stuff happening in the world, you know that they're always talking about the rituals and the child sacrificing and the Moloch worship and all this stuff that they do in these Illuminati circles and behind the scenes. And if you never heard nothing like that, yes, they do this stuff. And if you have, then you know what I'm talking about. So for all of those people who do those rituals, they do those because there's a specific energy that's created at that ritual. And that energy is useful for a certain type of destruction and advancement of a certain destructive agenda. And it's not as understandable as you may think, because the chips for how that all works have been very well hidden throughout the ages. But with the advent of the internet, with the advent of mostly people who've done the research even more thoroughly than me, we've been able to put up and put together a little bit of a clear picture of what's going on. So the season we're in is about choosing right from wrong and getting the spiritual reward that comes along with doing that in the short term and in the long term. Because in the short term is I'm really talking about this whole coronavirus thing. But in the long term, I'm talking about your soul, your spirit, your eternal part of whoever, however you define that, but the you part of you.
Eternal stride.
That has an eternal stride. That's fair. That's definitely fair. So, with that said, I would like to remind everybody that Yeshua kept Passover. He did. And little pro tip, hint, 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 the picture that everybody sees that's meme-ified at this point of, the Last Supper, while it wasn't a Passover, it was a meal called a Shagiga, which happens the night before Passover. This maybe I'm not saying that right. Chagiga, I don't know how it says, but it's a separate meal, and that meal is the washing of that meal is symbolic for a different reason, but it's a graduation themed.
It was right before Yeshua was taken.
Yeah, to be crucified, and so because of this, we just want to do, it's like when you say I follow, like to follow Chris Crutchfield on Facebook or Instagram is essentially to just hit a button and like not keep scrolling. It requires the minimum amount of like thumb work and finger work. And I appreciate every bit of the effort, so please don't take this the wrong way. However, to follow Jesus or to follow Yeshua in his language, with his concept of thinking and applying what that word means, applying what follow means, is to really take a break from English for a second and get into a different language called Hebrew, Aramaic, Syriac Aramaic that he spoke, that gives you the ability to get a little bit of more of a clear insight into the culture of who he was, because he speaks several times in the scriptures, throughout the scriptures, of his love and desire to protect his children. But there's just as much time spent of consequences that happened when they weren't protected because of their disobedience. That's where we are right now. We are at a place where we got to decide for ourselves. The church is the called out one. I'm one of those people. I hope this doesn't offend people, and I really don't mean this the wrong way if it does, but really, I do mean this. I don't mean this to be offensive, but I do mean what I say when I am glad that churches are closed on Sunday, this coming Sunday for the most part. And the reason that is because this is going to give a chance for the ecclesia, the called out ones of the Father's voice, to really answer that call in their action. And it's easier because you're not expected to be in a building this coming Sunday because everybody quarantined. So it's actually helping you, trust me. Mm-hmm. But to engage, to fail to engage in an invitation to a dinner that the Most High God has set forth because the angels in heaven already do this, and then to engage in a practice dedicated to the sex goddess Ishtar, that in English you say Easter, how you pronounce that in English, this Asherah, Astarte, Isis, Inanna, Ishtar, Aphrodite, Venus, this deity, same deity. This is the origin of Easter. Period.
Fertility
I've heard
goddess, right?
Resurrection Day, and I'm very sympathetic with the. Yeah, she's a fertility god. I'm very sympathetic with the idea of celebrating the resurrection of the Messiah. But this is the problem. That day is pre-dedicated to Lucifer already, and Father's already made a very clear indication of what he feels about mixing the profane and the holy, the non-Kodesh with the Kodesh, and he doesn't like that. And because of that, we should acknowledge that. Like if
it also shifts the aim to something different than the father's like, pre-appointed times.
What shifts that aim?
If you go to the resurrection and not to
Correct.
why there's these other appointed times,
yeah.
And over time it starts to shift because your aim or your focus has gone too far, or it starts to shift a little, and then it keeps shifting. So Yeshua is a great, of course, to follow him and what he's doing is a good thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I kicked the cord and it cut the interface off, so Facebook dropped out on the audio side.
Oh, okay.
Facebook, can y'all
you guys
hear me? Maybe not. Oh no! What did I do?
Oh, you turned it off?
Oh, I didn't turn
it off. Oh, it says
purpose.
42 minutes. It's still going.
The stream is still going, but the audio is maybe not. See how it says 0 BPS up?
Oh, okay.
Just dandy.
Well, let me try this. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna go here and see if I can hear you.
Yeah, see if you can hear it. Live video interrupted.
Oh.
Is that what it says?
Yeah.
All right, I gotta go live again on. Cancel. I gotta go live again on Facebook. Give me 1 second, Instagram.
And don't move your feet so much.
Yeah, I know. It's because I need to go to my.
Excuse me. So you guys that are still on here, he's just setting up the Facebook live video, and then we'll continue. I don't. Where? What was I saying?
I have no idea, baby.
Were you even paying attention?
I was paying attention, but I got my world rocked when I realized what a folly I had just done. Okay, is it still working? Yes. Okay, y'all can hear me. All right. And I'm going to click this right here.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. All right. Dictionary's opening up. Technical difficulties. Woo-wee.
Oh, there we go.
Title.
Sorry, guys. And don't forget to tag me.
Oh.
Can you please not forget to tag me? I should say it that way. Sometimes I come off maybe as if I am a little harsh.
And don't forget to tag me.
Don't you forget.
I felt the eyes. It's okay.
So
I like to do it. Do it. Jennifer,
what?
What? Yeah, you did.
Okay. You got it?
I do. Let's go ahead and say good night. All
right.
I'll try.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna try to stay on topic.
Yes, we are.
And not cut each other off.
We're just noodling through this, by the way. There is no decorum.
Definitely noodling
through it. And I'm like 1,000,000 degrees.
Okay. It is hot. It is so hot. Did you turn the heat on?
No, I didn't. I'm going to turn it on right now. Oh my gosh, I'm boiling.
Ooh.
I'm boiling.
No screaming. Since the baby is very sensitive right now.
I think it's already off. But we should have turned it off sooner.
I don't think that's what it is. I think it's all these computers being on.
It's the combination.
But okay. This it's already been almost an hour, and we have been on the same subject, doodling in the same topic, but I just wanna
We have been busy.
get to
Because we're long-winded.
kind of sum it up. We're long-winded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Facebook peeps. Your boy screwed up again. I have a very flimsy power cord that powers the audio interface, and I kicked it, and it cut the whole video off. So that happened. My fault.
Okay, so we were talking about
yes, Bob. I am still recording music for sure. Hey, Matthew. Okay, yes.
And I don't know why I said and. Trying to finish a sentence that I didn't even start.
We were talking about Passover, and okay, I'll say and. That'll be the next word.
Okay, just to kind of wrap it up and just, I mean, not wrap it up, but like to pinpoint. Yes, we observe the Passover, and right now there's a really special thing happening because all the different calendars
are lining up.
Yeah. Are lining up. There's the Halal calendar. There is the Saducite, the Enochian. Saducite is it's based off of the Enochian calendar. And then you have Julian and Gregorian calendar, and these are all different. And some people don't know that. You kind of go about your day, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm just living my life," and it's Tuesday today. I don't know what day it is. It is Tuesday, but when I grew up in Sweden, and over there, I just thought that Monday was the first day of the week. But when I moved to the States and I was working at a job where I was looking at the schedule and come to find out that Sunday is the first day of the week. And that's what is considered, even, if you look at just as a whole. The first day of the week is Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway, some people don't know that. I mean, I didn't, so I don't know. Maybe I was the only one that didn't know. But these calendars are all lining up because of the time that we're in. It's maybe you can continue, babe, because I'm losing my track here. There's too many things I'm looking at.
Okay, just pick one camera.
Okay.
So I'm focusing on mine.
So
you focus on yours.
So just to say, this Passover is not a Jewish feast. This is a appointed time that the Father gave to all his people, all the Israelites, before they scattered across the world. And let's see, Easter came about. Well, maybe you should take over. I feel like I think I have a hard time putting sentences together right now.
Like past point we haven't even gotten.
I'm just trying to
recap.
I know there's a lot to fleshing out, but if we can just kind of.
No, we can.
Like Yeshua kept the Passover.
Yes.
The meal that we read about in the Bible was not the Passover meal. It was
the meal we read about, the Last Supper. We do read about
the Last
Passover
Supper
meal all the time.
Huh?
You said the meal we read about in the Bible is not the Passover meal. We read about Passover all the time in the Bible. The meal we read about, I'm sorry, the Last Supper.
The Last Supper that Yeshua had with his disciples was a graduation meal, but also a remembrance, or where Yeshua was giving new ordinances to remember him. When you drink this wine or this grape juice, to remember that he had to shed a lot of blood to for us to focus on him, and also the bread representing his body, and we're all a part of that body. And so to remember that we're all together, we're all doing this together, we're all one body. And continue, baby. There's so much I want to say.
Yeah, I know. That's all you write it down. Okay.
Yeah.
So we call this Why We Passover
Woo-hoo.
Easter, and we've talked a lot about Passover up to this point, which we plan on celebrating later today, actually, the 7th. Passover is to be observed in the evenings.
And that's on the Sadducite.
On the Sadducite calendar, the calendar that we're following.
And also, just to let you know that Yeshua was from the Sadducite priesthood bloodline, and also the King David, Judah, or the tribe of Judah bloodline. So there's two bloodlines: the priest bloodline and the kingly, or the.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's true. And okay, so now I want to share, about why we choose not to celebrate Easter. So I don't want to do all this homework for you. This is one thing I'll ask you to really do is don't even Google it. Go to duckduckgo.com, DUCK, go, or any other website search engine than Google, and search the origins of Easter. Pagan origins of Easter, ? Search. Just look and explore. Do not trust that Google cares that you really get your spiritual life in check. They don't give you they give you the most relevant search results to the world that we live in. But the world that we live in is governed. The world that we live in is governed toward in a dark direction. Just understand. Just trust me. Google it if you want, but use some search engine and look up the origins of Easter. Easter, in a nutshell, in a Cliff Notes version, is a holiday that existed well before the time of Yeshua and the resurrection. What up, Louis? Go? How you doing? And it existed as a nod and an homage initially to Nimrod's reincarnation in the form of his son Tammuz, and the marriage and sex ritual unity of Nimrod's wife, Semiramis, to her now reincarnated husband in the form of her son, Tammuz. And this resurrection is really the resurrection of Tammuz that this entire holiday is based on. Trust me. I know a lot of people who are used to and have a certain feeling about the memories that they share on Resurrection Sunday, especially how we grew up. It's very fond of these memories, and I understand that because I'm fond of mine too. But at a certain point, I had to just understand that I was a part of a much bigger group of people collectively being misled purposefully so that my soul ends up in a bad place. And I had to choose for myself and my family that I don't want that to be. So I'm making this stand along with my wife and many other people who we know, both here in Los Angeles, both in North Carolina, and everywhere, to pledge this year to honor the Father in a way that he finds honoring. I heard somebody say it's like celebrating your wife's birthday on your ex-girlfriend's birthday, buying her the same present that you knew your ex really liked. Jen would not be happy if I bought her what I bought. Well, she actually would be happy. She would not be happy if I bought her.
If you bought me something. No.
If I bought her a present on a day in June on a day that
it's like, happy birthday,
wasn't
sweetie.
even her birthday.
Well, it's not my birthday. Well, it was my ex's.
It was my ex's birthday, and that's someone's birthday. So
she really liked this gift.
So here, you can have it because you should like it too. No, it does not work like that. And the Father does not see honor in us doing that. And I ask people this hypothetical question all the time. Do you feel like the Father is honored if you celebrate a day that he didn't ask you to celebrate? Resurrection Day. It's a great idea, but it's not asked, so that's the two. Do you think the Father finds it pleasing if you celebrate a day he didn't ask you to celebrate on a day associated with a pagan sex goddess that he did ask you to have nothing to do with. Astarte, Asherah, Isis, Ishtar. This is Easter. The reproduction, the fertility, the idea that she, the celestial balance of the rebirth of the sun, so to speak, and the rebirth of the warmth on the earth as the, or the equinox, spring equinox passes, is the lunar kind of equivalent to this representation. But this comes from ancient star worship, not from the worship of the Most High, and definitely not in a way to honor the sacrifice and the life of his son, Yeshua. So we choose to step out of it. We just didn't go. And this year, nobody can legally go anyway. So why not? What a better year to really do a 180 on pagan customs that have been hybridized into Christianity and honor one that the Father actually finds honorable. Passover. So in a nutshell, Easter is a pagan holiday through and through. We can get into the nitty gritty of why. If people want to know more info, DM me, message me directly. I talk to people all the time. I'm happy to share with people what I've learned, what I know. But it is. And all of the symbology works. The other thing that I find that's really important for people to know, and what we hear a lot of times is, well, I'm not celebrating a pagan idea. I don't feel that I need to forego celebrating the resurrection of the Messiah that I want to focus on. Why should I not be allowed to do that? And I'm not saying you shouldn't be allowed to do it. You should. Absolutely. Everybody should be allowed to do whatever they want to outside of hurting or harming someone else. Or something else, some animal or some, plant or life, earth or something else that's living. But I'm saying you have to understand a couple things. Number one, the point of a ritual, the point of a cyclical energetic expression is to create a vortex, a hole in the dimensions, a rip in space and time. Oh.
Keep going, babe.
Why did you stop it?
It stopped on its own.
Oh. Well, now Instagram done stopped.
Instagram is like, you're talking too much.
Stop sharing video with viewers and Swedish websites. Hit leave.
Yeah.
Okay. So there we go. Okay. Now Swedish is back.
Press it again.
Okay.
Sorry.
We got it. And now I've rejoined.
All this technology.
Okay. Request. Send request. And here we go.
Okay.
Go live. Boom. Swedish is accepting your request. All right. Accepted. You'll start the live video. Checking connection. Boom. Turn the volume down. Okay. Now we're back from outer space. And we probably have to go kind of quick.
From outer space.
Because your computer don't have its computer juice.
Well, it's okay for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back on subject.
We're over an hour, babe.
I understand.
There's all of this text that we have to get to.
I hear the concept and the reply very often, but I'm not celebrating because of these pagan intentions. I'm celebrating because I wish to choose to honor the Father and his Son and his resurrection. Rituals, and that's a fair, reason to why to want to do something. But if it's disobedient, it's not. Nothing's a good reason. And two, if it's lending energy to an existing ritual, that's the thing that people don't understand. Rituals are energy gathering sessions. That's why they do so many evil, vile things in all these underground satanic rituals. It's because they're trying to harness energy and adrenochrome and all these other things and use that for a purpose, not just for nothing. It's not just for the sheer fun of it. It's for
static.
A specific purpose. What's all static?
Oh, it was saying
The
that it's all
audio.
static.
Hey, can everybody hear us? Hey, Alpha,
Talking to Spotify.
can you hear me?
Hey.
I mean, it is sitting right next to the fan of my computer, but can y'all hear us even if it's all static? Oh, I'm sorry, everybody. We're having a little technical difficulty. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Can everybody hear me? Color breeze, Colay breeze. Can you hear me? Can we?
Barely, he says.
Barely. Okay. Turning our volume up isn't going to change that. Does this make it better or worse if I hold the phone over here, which is away from the speaker, the fan of this computer? Can you hear us better now? Maybe I'll just hold it over here. People, I do want people to be able to hear me, so that's why. Comment and tell us, yeah, this is better, Chris holding the phone over there, or it's no different. It sounds the same. Okay, great.
Perfect.
It was the fan, which I figured.
The fan's
The computer's in here huffing and puffing, and it's like he's like, I can't hear anything. I can hear an ocean. I don't know.
Or you can put the camera right there where there's nothing coming out. Or is there something coming out there?
Definitely. The whole thing is loud. Okay. So I'll just hold it.
Then.
So we hear that that's not, but okay. All rituals are energy gathering ceremonies, meaning if when you find out that there's dark rituals that happen specifically on Easter, like a specific holiday in the satanic realm, that's a very important one. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. Look it up if you're about that life, and don't if you're not. But it's a specific satanic ritual that takes place on a particular day in and around when Easter's held every year. They don't always overlap, but they don't always have to, because the season is an energy gathering season. So it's almost like saying, hey, we need the stadium to get to 100 decibels. So everyone who loves Satan, come in this stadium, we're going to get it to 100 decibels. And you're like, well, I don't love Satan. I love Jesus. But there's a really awesome concert happening that same night at that same stadium. So I'm going to go, but I'm not going to go and yell for Satan. I'm going to go and yell for Jesus. It's the same general concept. It's lending energy to a day dedicated. I want to say dedicated. Every day is dedicated to the Father. The Father made his days his. So it's participating in a little tiny, inconsequential satanic kingdoms playpen, if you will, that is kind of a middle finger to the Father. And our collective lack of understanding about how rituals even work and energy gathering ceremonies even work has led us to justifying our intentions, not realizing our folly the whole time. So that's why I don't celebrate Resurrection Sunday or Easter Sunday. I celebrate Passover. Why we don't celebrate those, but we celebrate Passover. Okay. A lot of people will also come and say, well, hold on now. I've read in the Bible that King Herod mentions in Acts a time where the people of that region are keeping Easter. It's in Acts chapter 12, verse 4. And, I grew up in a church that was very fond of the King James version of the Bible. That's for all y'all people who aren't super duper up on your Bible version terminology. That's like the thee and thou wilst, thus thine. That's a King James concept.
For thine
is the King James. Okay, no, that's a King Jamesism. But other translations that are not that, basically every other translation that's not King James renders that word in Acts chapter 12, verse 4 as Passover, not Easter, indicating that some Bibles have had some tampering happen. Now that's a whole subject for a whole different day. We'll get into it at a different time. That's not what we're here today to talk about. What we're here today to do is to share a little bit of insight into what we know about what's really going on with this whole coronavirus COVID-19 situation. But first, to offer an invitation that, like us, you join in to the feasts and the time of meeting with the Father on a year that's kind of cool because everybody who does that type of thing is doing that type of thing this year at the same time, which is a unique thing. And is this on me?
Yeah.
And what better time to jump into it than a time where we can all be in a position where we're trying to get to a clearer picture of truth and of obedience and of being in the will of God so that we can be protected from some of the crazy stuff that's coming. Because if you think it's crazy now, you ain't seen nothing yet. But baby, you just ain't seen nothing yet. You know the song. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, okay.
Do you want to say what the Passover, what happens on Passover? Like the story where it came from?
We can. It's not on my list, but I'm totally down to expound upon. I feel like that should be its own show. You know what I mean? It's like such an important thing.
Well, it is happening tomorrow.
Yes.
I mean today.
Yeah. That is. I've said that about 7 times in this life.
I know that. But just a short story about why it's kind of significant right now, because as we are right now, everybody is in their house, quarantine, and Passover is during that time before Moses had the last plague, or the last plague that came about. There were 10 plagues that happened while the Israelites were. What you doing?
I'm saying focus on your people. So
Sorry.
See you see a familiar
Sorry,
thing.
can you see me now?
Yeah.
The Passover was the Israelites. Baby, you're distracting me. Sorry. Passover is when the Israelites are in Egypt and they have all gathered there a few hundred years earlier through their ancestor Joseph. That's one of the 12 tribes, like one of the 12 brothers of my gosh, I'm like trying to trail back, but there's
Joseph
Jacob.
Was in diapers one day.
There's
he had a nanny named Trish. Trish loved making meatballs. Sorry, okay. Where are we going?
So what Chris was saying earlier, the promise. Man, I'm so glad that you're my husband and you have more words to be able to describe something. I can make noise and melodies. But you have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Jacob that was renamed to Israel. And Israel, he had 12 sons. And one of the 12 sons was Joseph. And he was carried into Egypt as a slave, and then he interpreted a dream for the king, or for the pharaoh, that took him to high places. And he I'm just kind of like summing it up. He was able to interpret the dream that there were going to be 7 years of plenty, 7 years of plenty, and 7 years of famine. And so they gathered food for 7 years, or whatever they need to gather to be able to survive the next 7 years. And when those 7 years of famine came about, the other brothers came into Egypt, the ones that had sold him off basically to be a slave. But I think this was all, it had to happen this way for it to end up like this, because otherwise the tribe of Israel or the brothers may have died because of the famine. So they came into Egypt and basically, to be able to buy food that they heard was in Egypt. So anyway, that's how they kind of came back into Egypt. They ended up staying there. They were treated well, because Pharaoh really liked Joseph because he helped him, interpret the dream and have everyone survive during the time of famine. But after a few hundred years, generations down, the pharaohs that came after the Pharaoh forgot about how good of a relationship they had. So they started treating them bad and enslaving them and making them work and not being paid and just killing their children and all of that. Um, but to the point where they were asking God, like, God, please do something, like, get us out of here. And the father heard their call, and then that's when Moses came about. Moses was the baby that was put um, in the Nile, because at the time they were killing all the boys from up to 2 years old. They were basically killing all the Hebrew babies. So Moses was put in the water, and then the queen, or the daughter of the king of Pharaoh, saw the baby and took her as her own, or took him as her own, and actually ended up asking Moses' mother to be the mother of Moses. And so he grew up in the kingdom with the Pharaoh, and at a later time when he was old enough to he became a man basically. And I guess that was the time when um do you want to go from there? Am I making sense? I really hope that I'm making sense right now. I just want to kind of sum up the story.
I'm gonna show you how to sum it up.
Okay.
A few hundred years went by, and
a
promise that was made by one pharaoh to one man, Joseph, and his family was upheld for several years, but then eventually not. And a change happened to where this people group ended up in a bad way.
That's okay. Keep going.
There we go. A change ended up to where the Hebrew people, the Israelites, were in a real bad way because of the new pharaohs, the new leadership that had taken place at that time. At which point, God decides he's going to showcase the folly of the Egyptian pantheon by sending plagues that matched the deities that represented this collection of Egyptian gods, which was not myths. These things existed. These were actually spirits and fallen ones and angels and ranks of beings that do communicate with individuals, but they were playing for an agenda that was completely wicked from the Father's plan. And he set out the story of parting the Red Sea and the deliverance of Israel that was really kicked off by the final plague that was the death of a tremendous amount of people at the time in the land of Mitzrayim, in the land of Egypt, that the group of people who observed this Passover, this particular event that represented the turning point for their entire nation's story, participated in. And this was a dinner, a specific dinner. And that's brings us to what it is, why Passover is, why there's. Oh, I'm sitting here talking like this with my chest. I'm not. This is tough to
and you're
manage multiple. I know. We'll get it right. We are.
Well, so they were stuck in their homes during Passover.
Yeah, they were stuck in their homes for the night.
This became the part where it's called Passover because they were
stuck in their home while the angel of the Lord, who is administering judgment on the people for their sins,
for holding on to, for not letting the Israelites go.
correct, being disobedient, was passing through the land, and it passed over the homes of the people who had followed the instructions of Moses, and as he told the people to put blood on the doorposts and create a season in your home of readiness and preparation for fleeing to safety, because it was about to go down. And that was the season of the original Passover. And so I find it so symbolic and interesting that here we are, I don't know how many thousands of years later, where we're basically stuck in Egypt, Inc. Here in America, and quarantined in our homes in a time where we will have to choose how we observe what we observe in the coming week. Towns and Labs, what's going on? Julian, or maybe someone else. So we're talking about some deeper things in life on this live stream. But we're using your Townsend Labs mic. Shout out to Townsend Labs right there. The Instagram feed is not getting this microphone. However, the Facebook feed is. So they got some great audio with shotgun. I forgot the model one, but shotgun mic with the good compressor on it. Sounds great. But this microphone company is awesome. Y'all should check them out. So why this is going to transition, I guess, the turning point in
this turned into an hour and a half already.
A long time already. Wow.
Yes, it's an hour and a half. So it's not. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is the way I'll say it. We have 5 categories. We're literally at the third one. We're going to skip
the last
really quick. In a nutshell, the systems of this world are 100% through and through controlled from the top down in a very pyramid-like power structure where the few on top control the interests and the affairs of the many that exists toward the bottom, with the in-between representing layers of compartmentalization of what's really going on as you get higher up. When I say the systems of this world, what I really mean by that is religion, which is what we've been talking about to this point, politics, medicine, entertainment, education, money, and food. All of those. I think most people can look at the world and say, the government says they're out to help us, but I don't know if I believe that. I don't feel that. Depending on what color the tie of the president is in office at the moment and where you live or happen to be born and grew up, might suggest you feeling one way or another way about who happens to be wearing the badge for this cycle of a term or two. But these positions of power and of influence in our government, and this is not just the American government. I'm American. My wife is Swedish. She's from Sweden.
Swedish American.
I don't know why I pointed it. She's on her live stream.
Well,
I'll get into that.
I'm a Swedish American, so I was born in the States but grew up in Sweden, and I'm dual citizen.
Correct. And she is at a place we're both at a place where we've come to understand that our respective countries, and really every country in the modern world, are being influenced in a way that is misleading, and it's causing people to lose their jobs and for people to have a lot of fear and anxiety around a disease that so very few of us even really understand how it even works. I ask people all the time, can you tell me how a virus works? I'm not talking about a computer virus. I'm talking about immune, like a virus. And for the most part, nobody can. So we're being held in our homes because a guy or 5 is telling us about the threat of a virus that none of us even know how viruses even work. So we're trusting the people in charge to have our best interests at heart by telling us the truth. And that is, baby's
Pardon me.
curveball. All right, I'll keep it moving. And that is simply, I'm going to come in the middle. So now I'm on 4 screens at the same time. Y'all, this is going to be really weird. All right. Hey. We're in the process of basically, deciding who we're going to trust. Are we going to trust what we're being told? Are we going to question the ability to, I should say, question the constriction of ability just to investigate something and to really rationally, openly speak about all possibilities going on? Or are we simply just going to do what the TV and the news tells us because for some reason we're all under the impression that the news is telling us the truth about things? Why would they? The news is a for-profit business entity that answers to shareholders, not to you, not to me, not to your mama Nim, not to nobody except for the shareholders. And the shareholders answer to secret society leadership, who answer to devils who don't like you, and they don't like me. And you can see it, right? They put poison in your water, in our water, and in, our cereals, and in our children's foods, and in our Teflon pans that we were all told were safe and sound, and then 40 years later, oops. And in our, this is just tobacco. It just grows right out the ground. Oh, come to find out, it's got all these carcinogens 40 years later. They simply lie to us, and they manipulate our lack of access to information to, in turn, create an environment where they are able to control us. And that is simply the truth. Now, defining who they is a whole other topic for a whole other day, because it's not a simple answer, and it's not a singular thing that you can just define and say that's that. Now, it is definable, and some people can define that very well, but that's, we don't have time for that tonight. What we want our friends to do is to really understand what's going on. Now, I use that word on purpose, understand, overstand, mostly because I want us to stand over the deception and not stand under the deception. And I know the power of words and the power of wordplay. That's part of music, lyricism, writing, poetry. This is the realm and the industries that we work in, and the news and politicians are some of the best wordplay jugglers ever. A new Florida man dies after testing positive for COVID-19. Yeah, okay. So he tested positive for COVID-19 and he has 17 other comorbidity factors. But he did die after he tested positive. So we'll just chop that detail out and put that as the headline. Use that as a number that contributes to an overall number that, in the grand scheme of things, even still at this point, should not warrant the shutdown of the whole world. Yet it has. But alas, here we are. So I'm going to try to stick to this. Why I say overstand is because I want us to really understand what is being told and what everybody else is going through, and be human enough to empathize and be respectful and listen and love and care and share and help, and be in a tremendous mind frame of helping people. But at the same time, carry enough authority in your ability to work the kingdom of heaven to your advantage and outwork the kingdom of heaven into your reality, so that you don't have fear, not because you don't get afraid because you've transcended fear, but because you know enough about what's going on and be like, oh, that's what's happening? Okay, got it. I got you. I see what they're doing. And so you're not as afraid for that reason. And number 2 is because you're in line and in tune with the true creator, who's the really only one who can really protect any of us from anything. I got half the answers, but not all of them. And I definitely don't know how to escape, badness from ever happening to my environment other than to escape. But I don't have all the answers. I just have questions that I don't settle at a hunch or like, wouldn't it? I wonder if. Well, we don't really know if. Some people do know. And if you really want to know, you can find out. You just have to look for it. And hey, Ronnie, what's going on? And so, okay, we want our friends to understand what's really going on. Cassie, my friend, is on my Facebook. She'll totally relate to a YouTuber. His name is Unplugem, UNPLUGEM. I learned a lot from this guy over the years. And that's one of his unplugemisms, I call them, like his sayings, his statements. Overstanding a thing. Overstanding involves understanding and then understanding a layer on top of the common understanding of it. It's like if you practice, I don't practice alchemy. I would never suggest it. If I was some sort of alchemist, wizard, or whatever, I would understand physics and overstand alchemy. Oh, I understand what you understand, and I know a few things on top of that you don't know. That's what's overstanding. It's about gaining a extra perspective to your understanding that stands alongside or on top of a different, also true understanding. There's a lot of lying going on. There's a lot of the economic and psychological downturn of humanity, which again, I really see as being usable for good because it's forcing a lot of us to be in our homes and be with our children and with our spouses and kind of put up with them more than we used to have to, and we can just leave and get out the house for the day. And I think that's going to strengthen, it's going to stress a lot of relationships. But my prayer and hope is that it strengthens them eventually. Y'all can make it through. We don't know how long it's going to be, but eventually it'll be strengthened by what's transpiring, what's really going out in your home. So if anybody were to ask you 5 years ago, let's say 3 years ago, hey man, does the government care about you, specifically you? Even if you're not a person who would ever be considered a conspiracy theorist, and I wasn't for a very, 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 very long time, I would have definitely in my mid-20s and early 30s been like, I'm pretty sure the government doesn't care about me. I don't really know how to explain that in detail, why I think that. I just don't feel cared about. I feel taxed. I feel tired. I feel, I don't know, like they just take more than they give, right? So let's not lose sight of the fact that the very same CDC that, apparently leaked the zombie virus in the TV show The Walking Dead is the very same CDC that we're dealing with here. Fiction just becomes their outlet for their plan, science fiction. Everybody involved in the inner workings of this evil on the earth operates by a code that perceivably, from their perspective, absolves them of guilt of the murder and genocide of their victim, so long as they tell them first. And by the fact that we told you, that's on y'all if y'all didn't step out of the way. Here comes the hammer. We're about to smash it. Oh, oops, sorry. You didn't know we were not kidding. That's on you. We told you. They operate by those dirty rules, and they've just called it science fiction our entire life, or fantasy, or drama. And, millions and millions and millions of dollars were poured into campaigns and films and, TV series and season after season locations of creating this reality that is really being manifested right now. They just needed your help in manifesting because they know how powerful we are. We're going to get into some solutions and what we can really do to combat this soon or in just a minute. But we as humankind, as mankind, are extremely powerful. We have a massive ability to affect change in our immediate reality and in our world. And if 7.7 billion of us got together to do that in a way that is harmonious, that would be powerful. Now, I think everybody agrees with that. What most people seem to think, however, is that within me internally without any acknowledgement of a God or a bigger force other than this collective conscious sea of energy, I know the way to live harmonious with everybody else on the planet. And so my way will have to work, and your way will have to line up with my way. And that's this self-centered kind of hyper spiritual approach that many people I find are falling into, where they're losing sight of the simple math that suggests that in order for any of us to be on harmony with a composer, we have to actually look at the composer for the wand or the little staff or whatever they wiggle to know when that symphony begins. We can't rely on our own understanding. We have to go by the Torah of Yahweh. That's what his Torah is. If everybody on earth lived life according to Torah, it would be no religion, because Torah isn't religion. It's a lifestyle plan. And it would simply make way for your ability to live and be in the coolest relationship. Nobody would be in debt. Everybody would be fed. It would be awesome. The earth would be happy. It would be awesome. But right now we're on Lucifer's plan, and Lucifer's plan is to get everybody on their own plan internally, so that it's just a bunch of AI bumping into each other, trying to make the world better while ruining it in the process. So this is why I tell people it's important to research. If you've been listening to me this whole time, or you've made it this far to the video, that tells me you actually. So I'm like really dark with this side. I'm gonna give this side some love. You actually probably have an inquisition or an inquisitive mind into what I'm saying for a reason. I'm not sharing this because I feel like I'm smart. You guys, please hear me. This is not about Chris feeling like he got something to say. I got something to say. I got I do have 4 cameras pointing at me at the same time. But that's not because I think I got so much to say. It's just because you didn't have to go help the baby out, and I didn't know what to do. I just kept going. So I am not better than you. I am simply a called out one. I am someone who heard the call of truth in my spirit that says, come out of Babylon, disassociate with anything that's modeled after Babylon. If you don't know much about ancient Babylon, start there. That's what your enemy models everything after. That's his sigil, his logo. If you ever watch Game of Thrones, they got a sigil. Boom, lion, Lannister family. Boom, 3-headed dragon, Targaryen family. Boom. You had your sigils. That's what it meant. Start, wolf, start, boom. The sigil showed your affiliation, or if you were a minor house, your rank was known throughout purely by your sigil. The sigil of everything that is Luciferian today can be seen pretty much everywhere, all over pop culture and entertainment, but it's got its roots in ancient practices that are observable and are researchable. And now that you ain't got nothing to do, and half y'all ain't got jobs, what better to do? Figure out how we all got in this mess by devoting some time per day to looking into these things. This week is particularly important because it's Passover, it's Easter coming up. Some people have got some choices they got to make. Some people are used to celebrating Passover and never Easter. We have some Jewish people and friends that may be watching. Hello, all my Hebrew friends and Jewish people, especially if you grew up there. You're good. Y'all can just lean your chair back and listen for the ride. Some people grew up celebrating Easter and not Passover, like myself. I have made the change about 5 years ago. It's my 5th Passover that I'm celebrating. We fumbled through. We didn't know what we were doing at first, but we tried and tried again. I got a Aaliyah song. If at first shit don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. We did that. And eventually, we hit a stride. We figured out, okay, this is how you properly observe Passover. It is just right there in the Bible. But there's great websites that'll help you learn, and we'll lay it out for you. If you just type how to keep Passover, boom, it'll be there. Pray over it. Pray about what you're doing. Know why each thing is done, and reach out to people. DM me, message me, text me if you have my number. I'll be happy to tell you how we're celebrating, what we're doing, um, and why we're doing what we're doing. And that's part of what this video is all about. Um, Cassie, I see your messages, but I literally have 18,000 things going on. And if I focus too much on one, I'll lose my train of thought so bad. Oh, Kelly, we love you. We really do. Kelly Nine Lives on the Instagram feed is one of Jen's, my wife's friends. She said, "You and Jen's videos give me peace. Being truly conflicted and living way up and down in the past. I appreciate you." And we love you, Kelly, so much because we understand that a lot of people are going through conflict right now, internal conflict. And what I'm saying isn't necessarily making it easier because I'm just bringing y'all some hard truth anvils, stepping on your toes and stuff. And you would be justified in feeling that way. I can definitely empathize with that because it's not been easy for us at all. There's a lot changing going on in our life, and having a baby just throws a whole curveball and a half into the whole equation. But it's wonderful overall. It's just, the war is won. The battles are still being fought, and some are being won and some are being lost. But that's okay. We do this with love, and we try to just share what we know and remain peaceful about this stuff because there's a scripture in the verse that says, "Yah has not given us the spirit of fear, but a power of love and of a sound mind." And if we believe that, it's like anytime we have fear, it's not to say that it's not real. It's to say that, oh, this isn't from Yah. This is from his enemy. Okay, he wants me to be afraid. Why? What do I want to do about that fact that he wants me to? I don't want to be afraid. Okay, how do I overcome this fear? Well, prayer and belief is one way to do that. Information and familiarity is a different way to do this. Some of the stuff I speak about, it doesn't sound scary to me at all. Agent Sosa, because you're right. It's better to feel it now than in the end, Kelly, because I have spent so much time around this information. So for me, it's like, oh yeah, the end of the world is gonna be any minute now, but it's totally happening. You want to know how? I got folders of information on exactly how. I speak like that to certain people, and I don't mean to be flippant or cynical or insensitive. It's just that I'm familiar with the information because this what's happening right now. This coronavirus is not novel. It's not new. It's novel coronavirus. Everybody's saying this. This is nothing new. This has been scripted and planned, and the script is happening in a way that is very, I don't know, nuanced and changing, like with the wind, but pretty consistent. Megan Riley, how are you? I just saw that you joined. Hope you're doing well. And wherever you're quarantined, I hope you're, not miserable. But what we've been talking about on this live stream, to catch anyone up who's very new, is a little bit of a heavy and deep subject matter, but it's why we decided to forego Easter this year and celebrate Passover, and how that is a decision that we made, and we're inviting other people who are really seeking after truth and what's really going on in this world to engage in along with us, because true protection from coronavirus or COVID-19 or aliens and bombs over Baghdad is all going to come from the Most High, the true creator of heaven and earth, the only thing that can protect us from what's really around the corner. And because of some of the conversations that we've had with people in the know and with need to know and with certain clearance levels and certain access to information and of different sorts of endeavors in agencies, we have a perspective that I'll speak on here shortly, briefly, about this whole coronavirus situation that has us very calm and not very panicky at all. And some people have asked, why aren't you wearing a mask? So I'm not wearing a mask because I know what's going on. I'm not saying you shouldn't, or I'm not saying that I refuse to. That makes you feel better. But I know it's happening. And I'm not being flippant by putting my family at risk, because I'm more aware of the risks now that I've did a little digging and I've decided for myself the risk. That's the thing. We need this whole season is about take taking autonomy and responsibility for our own actions and decisions. It's by deception Satan deceives the whole world. He's not going to tell you that this is actually not truthful. He's going to lie to you up to the point that you shackled and you realize he lied to you about what the shackles look like. It's you know, we live in a world of deception. I work in an industry of illusion. It's a fun industry to work in. You know, we've been quarantining since 2010. I've been at home mostly the whole time, but we work from home, a lot of us, and we go out, we have our shoots and our travel, and then we come back home and then we deal with production companies and, you know, folding offices and things. So the quarantine life is nothing new for your boy. However, we really found it peculiar when we noticed the world shut down in over 2 days. So if anybody really wants to get into the weeds on the details and the data that supports why I think the way that I do, please do message me or call me or DM me or whatever, and I'll be more than happy to send you. I'm not going to just post a bunch of it because it just works against my own goals, because their algorithms catch it and then they block you and they don't share your stuff with most of your followers, and then nobody ends up hearing the stuff you say next week because of something you posted today. It's a ridiculous game. But I'm happy to share this with anybody who is very interested in learning more about what makes me think this way, the data behind why I think the way I do, because I want to reiterate, this is not my opinion. This is an overstanding. This is like okay, I see what I never knew and didn't learn was already happening. Not like, oh, Chris just has a wild imagination, and Chris has the ability to visualize something in his head and then bring that out in a computer or camera or a pencil on some paper or with my words. That's what I'm good at. But I'm not making anything up. I'm simply painting a picture of a reality that I perceive, that many others perceive, and that's how I perceive it because I learned it from them. So a lot of people, we're gonna do a little bit of a turn to bring in a subject matter that many people probably don't know much about. And that is 5G. That's right. I know you done heard me talk about 5G. Most people don't know what they talk about. I'm not saying I know everything about 5G. I just know more than most people. All right. And I'm asking you to go with me on my explanation of why I do think 5G is connected to what we're experiencing here with this COVID-19 issue. Now, I just watched a really interesting interview earlier today that was taken off the internet, by the way. This is what I always ask people. If I know, if you know and I know that unicorn-based gummy salve, unicorn-based UBGS, unicorn-based gummy salve, pasty cream, is not effective at curing COVID-19, and that a coalition of angry trolls and unicorns and gargoyles was actually not responsible for 9/11 or disseminating COVID-19 throughout the world, then it should not bother you for some nutcase to go on the internet and talk about it. What does it matter, right? People talk about all kinds of fantasy things all the time online. Whatever, right? What becomes peculiar to me is when people begin talking about the details of the fallacy of this worldwide pandemic and how it's really, and what the doctors who aren't allowed on TV, the doctors who would never be given a pass on CNN or MSNBC or Fox to ever come on and say nothing on their channel, the blacklisted, mainstream blacklisted doctors, what tens of, I won't say thousands, but at least hundreds of them are collectively saying about, virologists and like infectious disease specialists, all kinds of people, about what's actually transpiring with this COVID-19, they all are collectively they're not joining, they're simply individually saying, we're this isn't adding up. This is misleading. These numbers don't make sense. These models are off. Like, we should really check who's suggesting the use of certain models to predict certain and project certain laws going into place, because what's happening is we're being told we're making these drastic efforts to help prevent a problem, but the problem that's being created at the same time. Hey, Captain, by the way, how are you? The problem that's being created is a much bigger problem, and the mismanagement of how everything is happening so far and so sporadically and so incrementally throughout the world doesn't make any sense. This is not the most effective way to stop this thing, how y'all are handling this. Y'all are telling us one thing one week, and then another thing another week, and then another thing another week. And then y'all say that this is not airborne whatsoever. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, well, actually, it's airborne. You go online, and I see people on Facebook Watch, the Red Table Talk with the Smith family, a bunch of witches and a bunch of swingers. All right, we're going to have someone on who tells us what his professional opinion. And his professional opinion is that, oh no, it is airborne. You can sneeze this stuff out. And the 6-foot rule, that doesn't even make any sense. 6 foot, like a sneeze can make it 7 feet, and boom, there you go. Then you go and you find that members of the World Health Organization are saying, no, it's not airborne whatsoever. It only lands in droplets that you have to touch, right? And everybody is working downwind from a ruling that went on at some point around December or so of last year that suggests that these classification of symptoms are what we're going to start calling COVID-19. Never mind the fact that there's a whole litany of virological related issues that, have to really be scientifically modeled and really practiced and determined through tests to really isolate what the core issue is and if said virus causes said problem. Never mind that. Never mind the fact that you're coming right out of flu season and right into allergy season, and all the symptoms happen to be flu and allergy symptoms. Never mind that. Never mind the fact that many of us are starting to know people who we actually grew up. Catherine, I don't know if you're still on this, but I saw Philip Stokes, who we went to high school with. This homie got coronavirus. So actually, people are. I'm not one of those people suggesting that what's going on is a total smokescreen and that it's all lies and that nobody's getting it. What I am saying is that what's being classified as coronavirus should never have been classified as that to begin with, because what we're dealing with is not. It's going to be easily positive testable, if you will. Test going to come back positive based on a real fudging of a couple key numbers that I don't have time to get into the technicals today on this video with, but that will allow the World Health Organization, the CDC, and a few small individuals to really suggest that problems exist at rates that they don't, and therefore trigger an economic destabilization that was the plan the whole time. This is stuff that I've been told years ago that this was going to go down. I knew exactly what they were going to offer. The stimulus bill, the stimulus package stuff. This stuff is important in the short term, but best believe there's a bigger play at happening. Your politicians do not think autonomously. I want to take everybody and hey, LPT1. I don't know who this is, but hello. Thank you. I will talk my talk. There is I get distracted very easily, so I got to really work on sticking to my train of thought. But there is a plan being worked out, and this coronavirus COVID-19 disease that kills barely anybody who catches it. Like, that's the other thing. Like 90, I forget what the uptake rate. I've heard some people say 0.08%. I've heard some numbers say 3 to 3.8%, but really with the bulk of those people being in the point regions rather than the world being in the 0.8% of the death compared to you caught the virus rate. At any rate, there are diseases pervasively that are worse. Tuberculosis being chief amongst them, and the world kills the same amount of people coronavirus kills in 10 days. So up the same amount of people who have died up to this point would have died from coronavirus in 10 days. Sorry, would have died from tuberculosis in a cumulative 10 days worldwide. Now, that's not a good thing necessarily. It's just to say we don't stop the entire world for that. You know, we don't stop all of commerce and all of trade and all of school and all and like psychologically place the world into a freeze moment, like stick them up, stick in your house and don't come out, and to the point where we used to, people sneeze and I've seen these memes that say, 2020 in March in 1 month, a sneeze can go from bless you to F you, and that's what's happened, like where the goodness is being just like siphoned, like sucked out of humanity through fear of misperception. They're lying to us, you guys. You hear me? They're lying to us. They're telling us numbers that don't make sense with reactions that don't make sense to the numbers that don't make sense. They're bringing people on who have a vested financial interest in seeing this new economic system take shape that played their role dutifully in the National Health Institute, or the National Institute of Health, rather, and other prestigious medical positions, only to be at a position now to speak of authority on what's really happening according to CNN from this coronavirus. Like, we have to do investigations on who's telling us these things. What do they have? Why do they care about us now? It's like, y'all wasn't trying to hook us up with long life and health and stuff before. Yeah, you have your great doctors and surgeons and scientists at the hospital level on the ground, the people we know, the family members of ours who are not Illuminati, oligarch, evil henchmen who simply go to work every day to help and to right wrongs and to heal sick and to spend a little extra time in that hospital room with that patient whose family isn't there. These are wonderful stories of our true heroes, right? But we have to get to a place where we value our eyes and our gut more than our televisions and our phones, you guys. They are lying to us. Big time. They're lying to us. We have to get mad enough to be like, really? What are they lying about? And find the answer to that question. This is not about healing the world, making it a better place for you, for me, and the entire human race. I wish it was. That's what Mike was about. But that's not what the people who were pulling the strings with this whole pandemic are about. And the quicker we can begin to go, let me just trust that I can know what's really up, and that if I put in a little bit of time, now that I've got some extra time, maybe I'll get closer to that. You will begin to, so much will begin to unfold to you, because you're smart. We're all smart people. I'm not that much smarter than y'all. Like, y'all smart. Everybody's smart. And we especially when you factor in the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, the Ruh. Oh my goodness, that's Yah's spirit. Ruh is Yah's spirit. The Ruach, I call it Ruh. Her, it's a female spirit. She know what's up. That's why I don't hate. That's why this whole like women are better than men, men are better than women. This was nonsense. This was something that was another lie placed in society so that it could be used against humanity and cause them to take each other's roles and not help each other. But men need women. Women need men. And the Ruach HaKodesh represents the feminine nature of our Father Yahweh, who really is a nurturer and a carer and a deliverer and a comforter and an information conveyor and an understanding and overstanding enable us to overstand. So now that I've been literally talking to 4 versions of myself, let's get back into the 5G briefly, and then we'll wrap this up. So I kind of cherry picked the word. I dropped the bomb on everyone. 5G. A lot of people have been hearing, oh, 5G, 5G, 5G. Most people either stand in one of three sections. They have either they've heard it and they don't know nothing about it other than, yeah, 5G is like the new internet or whatever. The next camp is people who are like, yeah, I hear people talking about 5G, but I don't really buy the whole conspiracy angle. I don't really see how 5G and cell phones connect to coronavirus. Clearly, it's just people fishing for an angle. And then there's a third category of people that are like, everything that's happening right now is specifically and exclusively because of 5G. I don't share any of those angles. I'm like number 4, closer to 3, but not really 1 or 2. I have spent enough time now becoming familiar with what 5G is. I want to talk briefly on a little bit of that and explain why you should consider that this does actually connect. And if you don't know much about it, you should ask someone who does, or you should watch video. I'm sure there's zillions of videos of how electromagnetic physics, how electromagnetics and biology interface, where they intersect. When you zoom, and I've said this in the video before, but when you zoom with a microscope, you look into your skin cells and you zoom way. Why you can't see my eyeball that close from me? You zoom way in. Hey, baby, it's still up at 5:02 in the morning, baby. Oh, she's supposed to be asleep. We love you though. Anyway, when you zoom way in, what you get is a series of elements, carbon, nitrogen, the elemental dust particles that make up who we are, beautifully fashioned, I believe, by the creator. And they're held together in a electromagnetic way, meaning that a tool of electromagnetic or electric and magnetic or electromagnetic properties can affect the very substance and the substrate of who we are in our thyroid, in our liver, in our kidneys, in our hearts, in our brains, in our nerves. And just because we don't understand it don't mean that nobody understands it. Some people do. And some people, were good scientists whose work they did under the auspices of national security and didn't realize they were actually contributing to an enslavement plan. And that enslavement plan involves using the scalar wave technology that exists in microwave electromagnetic radiation and electromagnetic frequency manipulation. All these sound like big words. They're not really that. This is stuff that you could do in like ham radios and stuff in like the 50s and 60s. It's not new technology at all. It's actually very old and very simple. It's just been very well kept out of the public. Okay. Well, the live stream ended. Share the story. Okay. We're going to have to go live again. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Here we are, guys. Round number 3. It'll say, give me 1 second, everybody, because there we are. The live stream cut out. I got to send a request so that everybody on Jen's phone can see what I'm saying over here. Go live with this person, add. Then it says waiting for Chris Cratch. I'm going to accept, and we can begin in 3, 2, 1, and we're back. Okay. Got to cut the volume down, but we're back. From outer space. Okay. There we go. Sorry, everybody. This is way longer and way jankier than I thought, but we're just gonna. Oh man, sorry. I'm fumbling everything right now. There we are. Is it staying? It might fall again. Jen, I need you to. Jen is like, I have a baby in my arms. There we go. I think it's good now. Okay, so. The first thing I want to explain is 5G. What is it? 5G is just a terminology for 5th generation wireless technology. That means we had 3G, that was the brand name of a whole host of technical frequencies and things, that uh, were incorporated into the umbrella of what they called 3G. 4G came along a few years later and upped the ante by providing faster bandwidth speeds. I remember going from 3G to 4G was way faster. I'm like, oh, I can download this email in like 2 seconds, like 10 megabyte attention, 1, 2, done, boom. This is cool. LTE, if you ever see that in the top corner of your phone, long-term evolution, which was their plan of implementing a wireless protocol that they knew would evolve long term. So they called it 4G LTE, and that was very corny and awful branding, if you ask me, a branding person. But nevertheless, it was what it was. 5G comes along, and instead of being an incremental stair step in terms of speed, power, and I guess pervasiveness in terms of where it's located around the earth, it's now a 50. It's like going up 2 flights of stairs and being taken on an elevator up to the top of the Burj Khalifa. If you're not familiar with the Burj Khalifa, it is a very, 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 very tall building in Dubai. I've been to it. I walked into it. I asked if I can get a room. They were like, we don't have many rooms left. The only one we have is $2,700 a night. I said, okay, no, thank you. We'll just leave. And we walked back out. And when we looked up, it was the tallest thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. And I did not pay $2,700 to stay in the Burj Khalifa. We went to the Marriott. But the leap in technology from 5G. Hey, baby. How you doing? You're like, Daddy, you were talking so loud you woke me up. The leap in technology. I know. The leap in technology from 4G to 5G is such a massive leap that people aren't going to understand what's coming. And I'll tell you why. Because 5G is also, like 4G and 3G, an umbrella term for multiple frequencies. There are multiple sections of frequencies on which they can broadcast internet within the umbrella of 5G. I had a buddy send me a screenshot from his phone, and it said 5GE on the top right corner. He said, is this the 5G that you're talking about? And I said, no, it's not that 5G. Well, yes and no. Yes, it is that 5G because it's all a wireless protocol. But the particular frequencies that are concerning with 5G are the upper frequencies, the 28 gigahertz frequency, 30, 40 gigahertz, 60 gigahertz. They say they plan to take it up to 300 gigahertz. 60 gigahertz electromagnetic pulses operating at the voltage that 5G plans on using were initially designed as a electromagnetic weapon, an actual thing to asphyxiate oxygen from a location in a rapid fashion, depending on how much energy you pump into that concentrated area. But they decided, okay, we've been using this in the secret military for 40, 50 years. We'll sell it to the public as faster internet, but really it'll allow us to really establish a tight-knit control when we bring online what we're coining the Internet of Things. Now, the Internet of Things, or the IoT, is another term that you should be a bit familiar with because that term is related to the interconnection of everything you got. Your watch, your Alexa, your Google phone, your Apple phone, your refrigerator, your mug, your TV, your light switch, your light bulb, your shoes, your shoelaces, your wallet, your phone, your other phone, your other phone, the phone that she don't know about, the pager, the one that's over there that's broke, and everything. All of those things connecting together is what the Internet of Things is all about, and providing enough bandwidth for that internet micro system, if you will, micro ecosystem to live and thrive is what 5G is all about. But it's not so that it can make your life better. That's what they're selling it as, so that it'll make your life better. But it's going to end up making your life significantly worse when the higher frequencies come into play. What I never realized is that there has been a tremendous pattern to pandemics occurring and new technologies being brought online. In 1918, around the Spanish flu, apparently it was the invention of radio technology. People, your cells exist in a state when poison is introduced to the body, and those cells are fighting what it deems foreign by excreting certain excretions from the cells that the medical community then labels viruses. Your body's healthy immune system fights those things off 99.9 out of 10. Boom, no need to shut anything down. Maybe shove some oranges down your throat and call it a day. Take a load off and stress less a bit that day, and you wake up the next day beating it. Introduce toxins in the form of antibiotic, just all kinds of things that chemically move your immune system in a state of like, WTF is going on here? And you're going to introduce a whole host of problems, especially when you begin to consider the electromagnetic angle. And that's what most people aren't doing. What I wasn't doing until recently is really understanding that this was a military weapon to begin with. And then it became a civilian byproduct on which we can have even faster internet that we got to probably pay more for. You see what I mean? It's not like when 4G came out, it cost us less than 3G. I don't remember paying more than I pay right now for my cell phone bill in history. So it's not like I'm benefiting really. It's simply that a few people at the top are going to be benefiting in a massive way to achieve goals that are contrary to love, contrary to health, contrary to thriving on Earth. This is what people are experiencing already. 4G has its own set of problems. It's not like 5G is all evil and there was no such thing as EMF before that. There is an importance in taking control of your environment and what's really affecting you, because this is about our children now. This is about our little daughter now. And man, when I tell you to think about seeing her grow up in the reality of some of this stuff, it's scary. And I know people who are pregnant and who are about to give birth, and I know that is going to be a joyous thing, but it, for me, created a new sense of, all right, let me shape up and set my life in a way that gives my daughter qualities that'll help her survive when she's an adult in my age. And it's changing quick, and you can tell, but if you're not sure what that change looks like, it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. And this is part of why we're on. I'll be happy to provide more details on 5G. I don't want to belabor this too much, but consider it like basically a combination of towers and satellites that create a microwave oven around the Earth that happens to transmit, internet inside this microwave. Yeah. So I can pay for the internet and also suffer the massive amount of health adverse reactions that come when this type of exposure is created. It was radar waves in the 50s. It was different levels of satellite technology in the 80s when these worldwide health issues began to crop up in large form. And this COVID-19 classification carries the same description. The COVID-19 classification is based off of a description of symptoms and a condition being present that can be caused by a virus, but bearing in mind that every virus is a mutated form of our own cells that have died and that have been poisoned, and that have been given a new activator to get them back in alive, doing their nasty, wreaking nasty havoc on our health and our minds. And this is all possible to manipulate with electromagnetics. If you do not understand this, that is fair. Most people don't. You are not an idiot for not understanding this, but it does not mean that this is not happening. And I feel confident enough to speak boldly enough, in a way that does not get me anything but lashback, really, to say that it's not what they telling us, y'all. It's just not. And we have to do a better job of reading and researching into what's really happening with our schools, in our church buildings, in our homes, in our office buildings, in our stadiums, in our city right now, while we're stuck in our house, in our malls, in our, just our
laws.
and our laws, yeah, like our national laws and local laws that are eroding out while people's jobs are crumbling. And this is about the establishment of a singular global government. This, people say that it sounds apocalyptic and it sounds very like, oh, fear mongering, all this. No, this is coming quicker than people realize this, and it's going to catch a lot of people slipping because a lot of people have been sold a lie where they grew up, and the lie looked different if you grew up over here versus if you grew up over there, or this side of the world versus that side of the world. But it was all to fatten us up for the slaughter, so to speak. And I don't want to see any of my friends get slaughtered. I don't want to see nobody die. I don't want to see nobody out in the bad way. I don't want to see anybody's children hungry. I don't want that. So my wife and I have come on with our little baby to tell y'all this is the plan. A lot of people want to know how it connects. Like, okay, where's the rubber meet the road with why all this is relevant? Why are you saying all this? It's because where they're headed next with this COVID-19 is a mandatory vaccine. I know people don't like talking about that. I know it's a hot button subject these days. But if nobody's going to tell you, I'm going to tell you. This is about establishing a false precedent for why you need this vaccine. That's apparently the only thing that'll prevent a pandemic of this nature from occurring in the future again. And fusing that vaccination with a digital certificate, a digital piece of nanotechnology that has been spoken about and available since the 90s. That's why I'm saying it's not new. And it is now coming to fruition in a phase where this will become mandatory eventually. I'm not saying that this will happen next week, but by this time next year, it might be. It might be sooner. And so now is the time where we begin to shake the dust off from the sleep from our eyes and really get a rein on what's happening in our communities and who our neighbors are and what our friends and family feel about all this stuff and how we can actually, contribute and help and be a light in this sea of darkness and scare, and how we can overstand enough to be able to help calm the nerves of the people who we come in contact with by sharing with them a little bit of truth, hopefully enough to make them okay. Breathe a little easier, take my mask off and take my gloves off, because your immune system is healthy enough to beat anything that is thrown at it, especially and definitely coronavirus, if it's healthy. So instead of focusing on fear and hand sanitizer, which just depletes your immune system, doing all the work for it, like atrophies your immune system, let's focus on ways we can strengthen our immune systems and our minds, which really carry the most power in the equation, so that we can fight anything. Because when the rubber hits the road and this cellular radiation, electromagnetic poisoning hits a whole new tilt, we'll be the better for it. So this is about taking physics and biophysics and manipulating that. How many people know anything about biophysics? Right? Nobody knows anything. I barely know anything about it. I have to refresh. Okay, physics. What is physics? Okay, software. Okay. It's such an obscure study for the most part that so much has happened under all of our collective noses that we didn't know. I'll quickly speak on this, and then I want to show people what's something that a solution, something we can all do to help begin the journey of protecting ourselves and getting, better at this whole, life, doing life in the midst of this sea of chaos. So sometimes some people will look at their Wi-Fi, they'll click on Wi-Fi and they'll be searching, and you'll see my Wi-Fi 5G, Sally's Wi-Fi 5G. 5G Wi-Fi and 5G are two different things. 5G Wi-Fi is a protocol that operates on the 5 gigahertz portion of the spectrum that's allocated for Wi-Fi, meaning it's pulsating at a rate that is equivalent to 5 gigahertz in its cycles per second, in its frequency. That is a particular specification that's specific to Wi-Fi. Now, I don't have time to get into the health ramifications of it, but 5th generation wireless is not the same thing as 5 gigahertz. So when you look at that Wi-Fi and you're saying, oh, okay, I thought my Wi-Fi's got 5G. It's not the same 5G. It's a different 5G. However, there's a lot of overlap in these bands because the actual, I guess, rate of frequency emission is different, so they can overlap a little bit in the bands that are allocated for these various wireless protocols. Wireless cellular versus wireless Wi-Fi. The first thing we got to start doing is being a little bit educated on how anything, like if a conspiracy theory is a theory, you do the proof to go figure it out if it's a theory or not. I've done that not on every theory, but on a lot of them, and a lot of them check in. Not every one of them. Of course, not every conspiracy theory is accurate, but there becomes a point at which you can basically use your own judgment and discernment to decide whether you think it's a theory or a fact. And that threshold has to be discovered and crossed by you and you alone. If you don't care, that's fine. But if it happens to you in their Luciferian style way, they're going to say, well, we told you, and it was out on the internet. Why you didn't believe it and look it up, that's not our fault. And they'd be right in that. So it behooves us all to be astute about taking the reins on our own learning and on our own research with our own fact checking, not relying on Snopes. Like Snopes is this one guy, like a husband. It was a husband and wife. I don't know if they're still together, but it's like basically I could be Snopes right here. Me, here I am, Snopes. Oh yeah, the CIA told me to say that this was a hoax. So this is a hoax, Snopes. Thanks CIA for your check every month. Oh, let me go fact check on Snopes. Oh, Snopes says it's a hoax. So y'all gotta think, we gotta know how our enemy works. And so we have to work on being wise as serpents, but gentle as doves. That's what the scriptures say. The serpent was the most cunning of all the different animals. He knew how to lick lead. But you have to not be as evil as the serpentine, individuals of earth, the serpent-like individuals, and they're savage. And you have to use your understanding to help and to educate and to ease and calm. Yes, I do know, by the way, where the first 5G was installed, Wuhan, China. So if you didn't realize that, Wuhan, China is the first city, from what I've been able to ascertain, that had a fully live installation of 5G. Wuhan's about, I've heard 9 million, I've heard 11 million. It's about the size of Los Angeles, so that's pretty large. And Wuhan was a test city for 5G, and just so happened to be where coronavirus broke out. In a nutshell, what I'm really implying here is that the sicknesses people are feeling, which are real. I'm not here to undermine anybody's auntie, uncle, cousin. I know a guy who actually got coronavirus. I'm not trying to say that he didn't catch it. I'm trying to say what he most likely caught and was feeling really bad from was radiation poisoning. Not radiation poisoning being classified as COVID-19. So yes, he had COVID-19. You see what I mean? It's like it's a wordplay game, and they're tricking everybody with the reality of how that works. So with that said, let's talk about some stuff we can do in the short term. I'm still in the process of learning a lot of this stuff. I used to be really into engineering. I started college to be a computer science major. I was going to be an engineer, but I switched and did a way more fun career instead. However, I still remember I still have my engineering sensibilities about myself. Therefore, I was able to do some research and really piece together solutions and really wrap my mind around kind of what's going on. We are being bathed in a soup of electromagnetic interference. I live in a house in LA, in an area of LA people refer to as Sherman Oaks. And it seems like a regular, I don't know, neighborhood for where I live. Till I got this bad boy. Can everybody see this? This is something that I would recommend people invest in. It took me a while to really pull the trigger on investing in this. I'm going to show it to every camera. I have 4 cameras going. This is called the Tri-Field TF2. Yeah. Tri-Field EMF Reader TF2. Can y'all see that? This phone? Boom. This reads electric fields, magnetic fields, and RF fields, meaning I can measure magnetic radiation, electric radiation, and RF radiation, and measure them to see what's what. Now, I am with 4 phones and Wi-Fi next to me. Sorry, 2 laptops and 2 phones, all on, 3 of them of which are on Wi-Fi. 1 is on the internet, like the actual LTE 4G, and you can see what the screen is doing. Can you see? Is it? Oh man, it's too bright. Hold on, that sucks. All right, I'll read it to you. It's flipping out at the moment. It's hovering somewhere between a half a milliwatt per meter square, peaking at about 19 or 20. Now the manual says safe levels are where the peak is at 1. 1, y'all. This is at 19 right now. Now, this is an unusual situation where I have like 6,000 things going on, 6,000 screens going on at the same time. But I'm pushing anywhere from 6 to 13 to 17, upwards of 19 peak milliwatts per meter squared. What that means is that I'm about 20 times at the recommended safe level of exposure to wireless radiation that would potentially give me a cancerous situation, or this little lady, or that little lady. And I don't want that. So I'm in the process of beginning the mental and physical hurdle of reducing the wireless usage in my life. It's not easy. I wish I had some sort of magic blanket or button or something you can get. I do have some other solutions, but the true solution is to manually limit the amount of wireless you have in your space. I have a site that has produced electromagnetic shielding paint, wall paint. If you're interested, I'll be happy to send you the link. It's about $160 for a can, but it blocks frequencies up to 40 gigahertz. That's pretty awesome, because the real 5G that's really problematic is 28 gigahertz, 30 gigahertz, 36 gigahertz, 42, upwards of 60. Now, 60 I've heard is the real problem. 40, that's still lower than 60. But if you painted the outside or the inside of a room, or if you can afford it, your house is tall enough, your house with this paint, my assumption is that your wireless radiation exposure would dramatically increase, and your health decrease rather, and your health would probably dramatically increase, and your ability to focus. How many people are dealing right now with like, wait, what's my train of thought? Oh wait, why did I come in this room? Okay, what was I talking about?
And being tired.
Stuff. Being tired, having just a reduced motivation factor for getting things done. Like, man, 10 years ago I used to be on it. Now I'm like, whatever, I'll get it done tomorrow. Right. That's all symptoms of EMF radiation poisoning. Of all of the above, ushered on and propelled forward by an overexposure to radioactive fields. One of the biggest implications of this is infertility, you guys. Like, I don't need to tell you how daunting and dire the potential consequences could be if nobody can have any kids because everybody got 5G phones that they kept in their pocket, or miscarriages for the same very reason. So this is a meter. I'll be happy to share it with anybody if you really want to know. But for example, this microphone, which is great, again, Townsend Labs, it has electricity going to it, and when I hold this meter near it, I'm pushing about 158 volts per meter squared. Same for my interface, same for my laptop, same for Jen's laptop. Now, that's fine because, maximum exposure voltages are way higher than what they call the recommended minimums. But you best believe that the FCC isn't actually got your livelihood in mind when they set their FCC recommended safe level. So just because something says, oh, yeah, no, it's way below the safe level, doesn't mean that that safe level is set at an area that's actually safe. Which is just how they do it. So there's a website. Again, I'm not going to belabor all this. I've been belaboring. I'm not going to belabor it further, but there's a website I can give you that has EMF hoodies. Like if you want hoodies that'll literally shield you from 5G and everything, they got sites for that. They're not cheap hoodies. They're like $400 hoodies, but it works.
Also to move out of the city. Did you say that?
I didn't say that, but like for as many people as thinking of relocating to more rural or less densely populated areas, that's what's going to end up having to happen eventually. I'm not saying tomorrow, but like at some point, a relocation away from the concentrated points of the control grid are going to be required, and you best start thinking about that stuff now. So what can we do? And this rounds us all the way back to the beginning of what we were discussing this whole time, which is Easter and why we pass over Easter. And I've seen people comment. I'm so sorry if I haven't got to the comments. I'm gonna get back to it. Cassie, I see your comments. I'm gonna get to comments specifically. I'll like comment and like answer you.
Yeah. Cassie saying also we're a good Passover
resource. Yeah, if you
tomorrow.
look at the Facebook of this video, it'll have. We'll be happy to share with you just how we observe Passover and more about the details of why. But what can we do? We just recently been talking about the scarier side of the way that the Earth is unfolding, and there's an electromagnetic control grid that's being established to just do things that I don't even want to get into right now, but that aren't going to be helpful for love and harmony on planet Earth, and the growth and thriving
and that's just
mankind.
one component.
And that's just one component.
With everything else you mentioned,
Correct.
that
What's really happening is it's an economic play. This is an economic plan. The reason all y'all's jobs are being wiped out from in front of your eyes is on purpose. I told people this is by design. People look at me like, well, why would they want to get rid of jobs? You ask that question, you're not seeing the picture big enough. They want to get rid of jobs because they want to make you dependent on them, the state. And that state is really a yes man system up to a governing body that is trying to spiritually and mentally enslave and control you. Why? Now you're getting to spiritual conversations. That's the real big why of it, and it's for another day. But here's what we can do. The first thing you got to do is you got to stay prayed up. You have to, I say that as a colloquialism, but you really do have to get into harmony and under the shadow of the wing of the Most High, because the only protection you're going to ever have comes from Him. And I mean that, and I don't want to joke about that too hard, because it's I can't word it any more plainly. It's just we gotta acknowledge where the source of real protection comes from. This is the perfect season to say, I didn't know what I never knew this stuff about Easter, but I'm gonna look into it, and I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to these feasts or Passover or anything, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to look into it. I'm willing to do what you want me to do, because I love you. I don't love tradition more than you. I don't love my neighbors and family thinking that I make sense to them more than you. I love you. Yeah, I love you. I want you to know that
it's a paradigm, Tim.
That I'm about your life. Like if I'm now coming to the realization that life involves doing things that people consider Jewish, and I'll just have to do those things, and I'll have to explain why and understand and really be able to have conversations with people so that maybe they can come out of some of the error of their ways too. And this week marks this perfect line in the sand. Like, which team you want? Team Pagan or Team Yah? Because that Team Yah, we're gonna be good. We're not worried about no coronavirus. We're not worried about no New World Order. We worried about keeping our cloaks and blemish clean, blemish free, getting all our Tide pins and get the stains out. So when the Father's kingdom is ready to come full tilt on this earth, we right there with the rest of them, looking just like they do, doing the same thing they do. Sabbath, boom, Passover, boom, unleavened bread, boom, 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 boom. It's about us getting our stride in line with their model.
With the heavenly model.
With the heavenly model. That's what I mean by their model, not the satanic model. Satanic model is what everybody's been being led on all this time. I'm going to give you a list of some specific things you can get that will actually help specifically. So the first thing we talked about is spiritual. It's like, hey, get right with God, come to Jesus meeting type thing. Like really do in your car, in the shower, like be like, Father, what the heck was Chris Crisfield talking about? Like, is any of that stuff true? If it is, like, help me figure this out. I do not know. And when you say that humbly, wherever you are, he will meet you there. He will be like, I got you, fam. This is what's going on. You want to be safe? You got to do this. He will take care of you because he wants to. Just like I want to take care of this little baby, he wants to take care of us. So here are some ways that you can take care of you by boosting your immune system. And this is another reason that they don't care about your health. All right, people? They do not care. No. Because if they did, they would tell you things that would help. Telling you about a projection of what might happen with the increasing cases if we don't follow draconian legislation and isolate ourselves socially is fear. That's like it's like stock market thinking. It's like, okay, I'm buying futures and I'm buying perceived value in a thing. This is about actually helping you, right? If you want help, your immune system is the best vaccine you could ever have in your entire life. Your own body is your God-given ability to fight off disease, to understand what viruses are in the first place, and to limit the poisoning that could even happen in you to receive any mutation that could be perceived and labeled as COVID-19. And then how to address that if that does actually happen, because we do know people that have had that happen. It's not like nobody's getting it. So I have an uncle who's very wise in a lot of these types of medicines and practices, and he sent me a text message the other day that was very helpful. And I said, I'm going to read this text message. He said, "Hope you're doing well. I just want to suggest a list of things you should have for yourself to build your immune system." So what I'm about to read off are practical things that you can buy online at a grocery store, at a farmer's market, or Trader Joe's that you can literally eat and ingest and mix into teas that will boost your immune system to fight off COVID-19, COVID-20, 21, 27,000, SARS, Zika, Ebola, the flu, haters, salty bees, and all kinds of things you don't want around you. And here is that list. Elderberry, oil of oregano, fresh thyme, the plant, fresh garlic in peel form or in clove form, echinacea, all right, red clover, raw honey, like good honey, manuka if you can get it, or some real good local apiary beehive. I know people who got apiaries. That honey is just something else. None of this process, man. Get the bacteria, get all the dirt crystals in it. That's the good stuff. That's what you need. Raw honey, catnip. I've never eaten catnip, and so I really do need to call him. Like, oh, catnip. How does that work? Catnip. Mullein, Mullien, and lobelia, mullein and lobelia together. Golden seal, 7 days on and 7 days off. It's an extremely powerful blood cleanser. All right, now we had my midwife Michelle, I saw her on here earlier. She recommended golden seal for our baby's navel when she was first born. We cut the cord. The home birth, and we have golden seal left over still because we needed like a tenth of the whole baggie that it came with. So we actually have golden seal. I never realized that it's an extremely strong blood cleanser, but that makes sense because it was the very thing that cleansed and helped cauterize the belly button when she was first born. Golden seal. Pine needles. This expels mucus, and eucalyptus oil. Then he says, eat organically as much as possible. And blue verivin and yarrow, Yarrow, are good for fever. Yeah, yarrow is a type of flower. So I just gave y'all a list. I'll read it off really quick if you want to write it down. Elderberry, oil of oregano, fresh thyme, garlic, fresh or in pill form, echinacea, red clover, raw honey, catnip, mullein, and lobelia. If I'm even saying that right, lobelia. Together, gotta have them together. Golden seal, 7 days on, 7 days off. It's an extremely strong blood cleanser. Pine needle expels mucus, and eucalyptus oil. It does something great. I don't even know what, but it's great. Eat organically as much as possible. Have plenty of vitamin C and vitamin A and vitamin D, despite what the television is telling you. You need vitamin D. Eat organically as much as possible, and you can take blue vervain, Vervain, and yarrow. I don't know how you say it. Yarrow. Are good if you do get a fever. I will post a list for sure. And I will. Yeah, that's a good point. I will post this list. Can I post it to the?
You can do it after the video.
Not on the.
In the description.
Oh yeah, I'll post it in the description on Instagram. There we go. Okay. These are things, if you take these supplements, which we have about 2/3 of this list, we have a few things we still need to get. These are things that help your immune system go boop, so you will not get sick. People, your mental state is what's everything. Your mind will make you sick. Your mind will make you well. Your mind will make you sick. Your mind will make you well. These are the principles of the kingdom. The truth of the kingdom of heaven is about like healing and making legs grow and blind people can see and all this stuff. Casting demons out of people. This is all a mental awareness of a reality, of an authority that exists. It's not based on a procedure, a pill, or a vaccine, for heaven's sake. This is based off of mental, cosmic, spiritual, energetic principles that are governed, that this cosmos is governed by, and we're just not waking up to this stuff. So we got to learn as much as we can. We got to trust that we absolutely have the ability to know these things, and we can learn them, and we will learn them, and we will succeed at finding a healthy balance for our families and our loved ones, and setting our own children up for a future that is livable. But we got to take the reins on that. We can't just trust that the people who's supposed to be testing whether this phone and these laptops is emitting what is considered safe levels, which is 1 millivolt per meter squared, and the 4 of them are collectively emitting 20, meaning all 4 of them are above 5 times bigger than what they're supposed to be in terms of the safe levels of radiation emission. And that's just in an iPhone 5, an iPhone 8, and 2 old MacBooks. That's old technology. So you know the new stuff is doing even crazier stuff. Cut out the fluoride. Cut out the toxins and poisons and white sugars and all kinds of just things that are just
even shampoos and
just the carcinogens. We should do like a health edition where we really just talk about health stuff. Right now, what we're trying to share with you is ways that you can mitigate the fear that you might be having now by taking a few simple practices to heart and a few simple step backs as to what's really going on with this whole COVID-19 nonsense that you're stuck in the house for. I'm still stuck. So, with that said, what I was really summing up with all of this is to, first of all, let's get into physical prep. That list I gave people that I will be posting on this comment in the comments of this IG is the list that I was given by a very knowledgeable health practitioner and healing, a minister of healing, if you will, who natural healing. Exactly. There's not a single chemical you'll find on that list. It's all flowers, herbs, and plants that will heal you quicker, and you be feeling like Tony the Tiger, like ready to go. I don't know why I chose Tony the Tiger cereal. I don't know why I chose that as a metaphor, but you feel like the cartoon commercial said you'll feel once you eat Frosted Flakes if you don't eat Frosted Flakes, but you do eat these other things. So this is physical prep. Mentally, the way you prep is we become aware of what's happening. We become educated on how 5G works, how 4G works, how NEG works, how electromagnetics work, how electromagnetic radiation affects oxygen and iodine that affect the cells in our body that do render us symptomatic of things that are eerily similar to COVID-19. We do the research on these things. We get past the what will people think, or what if I'm not smart enough? We trust that the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, will give us the wisdom to know, yeah, no, you are smart enough, and man, oh man, do I have something better for you if you stop believing the TV's lies. I work in LA, y'all. I work on TV, not on TV, but I know plenty of people do. I've worked on TV before. It's fun. I do like it. It's fun. But they lying, y'all. This is a script. It's like actors and makeup and special effects. It's not real. It's not real, you guys. And the news is no different. Please, 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 please turn it off. It is creating fear and causing and perpetuating the problem, which is emotional decisions made in obedience and acquiescence made from poor information being given. Hello, Shay. So I'm just ending this whole thing. You have to go back and watch the archive of it. But the final and the fifth, what we can do after the physical prep, after the mental prep, is really wrapping your mind on what measurements have to be taken to protect you and your family from what's really actually going on in the world, and what that'll mean for where you live and where you work and what that's like. I mean, this is where you begin these conversations and these thought patterns, so that when the time comes, you're ready to do it. Your family has discussed this and you have a plan, and it's not like, you're stuck and you're pissing everybody off for what seems like a rash decision at the time. Spiritual prep is the final thing that I'll say. That means getting quiet and getting to a place where you're like, Father, please, what in the what is about to go down? I have no clue. I need you to help your boy, because I thought I knew, but I don't know, and I'm humbling myself enough to say I need your help. And when you do that, like we did a few years ago, he will tell you, great, I'm going to pull you out of the pagan practices you do, because I want to protect you, but I can't do that. I can't have sin under my wing. Sin got to be over there. My wing protects those who are Kodesh along with me. You can see my hand is like my wing. It protects. This is a very flimsy chicken wing. Think about a chicken wing that's been eaten with all the skin and the gristle gone. It's like a skinny old wing. You know what it's like. With the meat in the middle, it's like a chicken wing. But the Father's wings are way bigger than mine. Trust me. And he protects. But he is holy to the degree, and he's set apart to the degree that, negativity does not resonate in his vicinity. And he can do whatever he wants to, and he will end up protecting many people for the decisions that they'll ultimately make in the future, because he knows the beginning from the end. However, this is about figuring out if what you do is rooted in truth or not. And if what you do is practiced by more than 1 million people, it's probably not. I don't know that 1 million people keep the Torah properly. I know that hundreds of thousands of people do it. I'm sure that more than 1 million people have at some point throughout history. But I'm thinking actively. 10 million, let's up the threshold, 100 million. If what you're doing is more popular than that, it's probably rooted in pagan idolatry or pagan symbolism or pagan origins, because of how far we are into this chapter of Lucifer's rebellion against the Most High and what that's really meant. We've talked a little bit about that earlier in this particular live stream that was on both accounts, split across 2 different, uploads. But that's fine. Technical difficulties. 4 different uploads, yeah. But all that to say, this week is very interesting, and this day is very interesting. This the 7th of April, 2020, and as we're locked down longer than we ever been. First they said April 1st, then they said April Fools, April 16th, and then they said, oh yeah, well, they haven't said it yet, but they're going to say, oh yeah, we need to make it June 16th actually, because this is not about the locking down for the prevention of coronavirus. They're lying to you about that. This is about many other things, but it's definitely not about that. And the spiritual preparation that I believe many people are being called to consider doing is going to dictate how the next 12 months play out for you and your families and your life and where you live and where you stay. And I don't mean to be so flippant about that, but I do mean to indicate that this is very much war that we're in, you guys, and the quicker we can realize that, the quicker we can get to a place where we are ready for battle, man. And I encourage everyone. I don't want to leave everyone discouraged that you think I'm talking about the world ending and nothing go back to normal. It might, but be of good cheer, for Yahweh has overcome the world. We have to really put that in. We have to choose to believe that part of the scripture too, right? Yeah, Revelation is there, but so it is that there's other promises that mean something for the people who have held fast. It's like it says in Revelation, I believe it's chapter 2, where it's talking about the church of Philadelphia. They kept they kept on the money of what they were asked to do and a lifestyle that they were asked to adhere to. And the Father saw their works good in his eyes. And those works weren't based off of an arbitrary, I wrote it on your heart so now you know, individually. It was based on a covenant established through an instruction set that started from the beginning and has not changed. So Kelly, we bless you. Mahmoud, Cheyenne, Shay, Elliot, Enchanting Meg, Minstra. Hello, everybody on my Instagram. My Facebook feed has, I don't even know how to see it anymore because they've changed everything on Facebook. I think some people are on, but hey, Facebook. Hey, Jen's YouTube. Hey, Jen's Instagram. But with that, we're going to leave you. We just wanted to share where the Crutchfields sit on this season and encourage everybody to say, listen, if you're new to this whole Passover Torah thing, Christianity, whatever the heck this is, reach out to us. We will be happy to talk about why we do what we do and why we felt compelled to begin a lifestyle that looks like this, and why we're raising our daughter this way, and why we think you should too. If you have a daughter, if you have a son, you should raise your son this way. And with that, we're going to leave you, and we're going to say shalom, and we love you, and hopefully you didn't get too bored this whole time. That we were on. Oh, hey, Laura. Oh, she said, hey, Z. Hey, Laura. Z said, I got that outfit.
Good, Kelly.
We will talk to everybody soon. And today is the day that we're going to be later at twilight, later this evening, and celebrating Passover according to the calendar that we follow. The ancient one of the tribe of Zadok, based off of research from the Dead Sea Scrolls and from the ancient annals of Jewish and Mesopotamian Near Eastern history, and checked and rechecked by people who we think know more than us about the calendar, which we're still in the process of learning about. But that puts our Pesach on today, the 7th. And we know other people who follow similar calendars who are also celebrating today. So with that, we just want to say we love you. Happy Passover, or yay, go ha ha. And we're choosing this year to pass over Easter and not celebrate pagan-based traditions, no matter how familiar they are, because we're choosing to dedicate this time to what the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which comes immediately after Passover, really is all about. And that's a rededication of ourselves to our Creator.
Taking out the sin.
And by taking out the leaven and the sin from our life, we toss all the bread out the house. I'll eat it next week. Who needs bread?
It's just a symbolism.
She's like, I don't want to leave the bread. I don't got to toss the boobies out. No, baby, you don't got to toss them out. You can keep them right where they at. All right. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon. All right. Peace. Or not peace. Just getting away from saying peace at the end of every conversation. I want peace, but I'll say shalom. That's shalom, which I think is awesome because shalom means to crush the authority of the one who brings chaos. So it's like peace as a byproduct of the authority or chaos being crushed. That's why we named our daughter Shalomé, who don't want to peacefully go to sleep right now, even though it's 5:56 a.m. and she was supposed to be asleep a long time ago. All right, you guys. Have a good night. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. 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 YouTube. Ooh.
Oh my
Baby, you don't
gosh,
like what I'm saying?
Long story.
Are you want to end your stream? Bye, YouTube. You're the last one to leave. All right. Bye. Bye.